Well, we'll just do a little intro real quick. So, hello YouTube people out there. You know, some people don't watch these live. So, how are you guys doing? This is the 9th episode of the Anime Sovereigns podcast. We are down a member this week because you know, Dylan has some family thing. I think he said something like
He's
that.
at an anime convention, which is somewhat anime related.
You know what? That's fine. Yeah, we'll allow it.
Excuse him this week.
We will allow it.
I gotta out my boy real quick. Okay, I need to out him. He DM'd me something. It's now gonna be out in the open. He told me that he bought a new desk because he bought a new mouse pad. That order of events is literally how it happened.
Why? Wait, what?
What? I wonder.
That's really funny.
Listen, I don't know how deep this hole goes, but let's just say the mouse pad is a little sussy.
Oh no, bro!
No. For a little bit more ergonomic, you know.
Yeah, I already know. The moment he said that, I knew exactly where he was going with this.
I did his OD.
It's not as sussy as you think it is, but it's a little sussy.
Yeah, we can excuse him because he's doing something anime related when he's supposed to be doing something anime related. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The funny thing is,
yeah,
he functionally committed like multiple hundreds of dollars to that mouse pad because he's literally buying another desk because of it.
Dude, his powers
Jesus
are max,
Christ, bro.
Oh my lord. Hold on, I'm looking for something real quick. Oh yeah. So today's episode is gonna be kind of different than our previous ones. Usually whenever we do these, we have like a hard set topic and we like base the entire episode like thematically around, you know, a centralizing topic. That's not really the case for this time around. What we're actually gonna be talking about is it's kind of like current events. Like, we've been watching a lot of shows this season. We've pretty much passed the 3-episode rule point for I think every show pretty much. There are some ones that started late, and so like we're gonna be talking about like kind of where we're at on the season, and you know, just general discussion. And we also encourage anyone that's watching to feel free to ask questions. If you guys want opinions on certain things, like, feel free. This is like really really casual, like conversational type stuff, so I wouldn't get too intimidated by what's going on, because there's definitely some interesting shit.
Because like, yeah, we thought this would be good to do because, like, you know, when we're down a member, like, we can just like have like this like free conversation where we just like talk about like what we think is like going to be like front runners of the season, because usually like 3 or 4 episodes is like enough to tell you know, the quality like standard of any given show. And you know, that's what we're going to be diving into today.
So before we okay, this is a funny starting point. So I saw this actually on Twitter, but did you guys see this?
What? Oh, I did.
Bro, it's a 1-to-1 scale figure of Nanachi. It's $3,600, bro.
Yo, listen. You see the 1-to-1 REM figure that exists?
Oh yeah, I do remember. I actually do remember that.
Like, how tall is Nanachi? Like 4 feet?
155 centimeters.
5 feet. Yo, what the hell? This thing's way bigger.
Yeah, she's 5'1". Yeah, because the ears, bro. The ears are tall. Look at the
The ears are like 1'5" themselves.
I saw this on my timeline. I was like, oh my god, bro. People that buy figures, like, those people are like ascended, I think, because like this is not a cheap hobby. If you're trying to collect figures like that, I think that sub hobby within anime is like so, like, it's so pricey. Like, if you're going for like quality stuff, at least.
It's like one of those things where, like, you know, your gut reaction is like, man, this is cringe that you're spending so much money on something like this, but at the same time you're just like, man, this guy is probably like a lot stronger willed than I will ever be when it comes to, like, you know, supporting.
Is that strength? Are you sure?
Is that what that is?
It's like lack of self-control, probably.
It's strength to restrain yourself.
That's
from
actually
something
funny
like this,
as
you know?
Anyways.
Yeah,
supporting the industry.
I thought that was really funny. Yeah, I mean, like, honestly, that's a funny topic. Like, 'cause I feel like anime is one of those hobbies where, like, there's a lot of different ways that you can support, and like, of course, not everyone like goes above and beyond to support the industry itself, but there are like different flavors of of otaku in that regard. Like there's the figure people, there's like I'm more of like a box set and art type guy. You know, there's just a lot there's a lot of stuff that you
this is actually something that we talk about like pretty frequently just amongst ourselves, because like me and Miguel, like we say like, man, like we're like, I am like personally like a charms and like pin type of guy. I think that's like a really like low key and like cool way to like, you know, kind of like express yourself and like just like show like, you know, what you enjoy like consuming in terms of like media. But you know, there's also like things like apparel, which most of it is trash. Like
that's definitely a shortfall of
the thing about like anime apparel is that most of like designs, especially like on shirts, are just like very lazy. Sometimes they're just like key art of series and that like look extremely like bland because it's just like a rectangle on a shirt or something.
Yeah, this is my short JPEG on the shirt.
I absolutely hate when I see a rectangular thing on a shirt. Anything. It doesn't matter how good it is. I hate it. It pisses me off.
yeah. It's like, man, it's like I think it's really difficult to like. I think, I don't know. Maybe they're just trying to appeal to the lowest common denominator, where they're just like, hey, this is a cool scene. 100%. Let me just stick the literally a screenshot from the show on his shirt. Maybe someone will buy it. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
There's
who
like
started this
a
trend.
few like apparel items that I've seen that like, man, like I would definitely like want to wear that. Like usually like I seek out like original designs that are inspired by like certain series and shows. But you know, those are something you just have to like go out and really like browse like con stuff or like online store stuff in order to like find, because most of it is just like I would not buy it.
I actually have I have like I think I have two anime related shirts, but like both of them are like original designs. And so like I thought they were like worth going for. I have one from Abyss and one from Girls Last Tour.
I'm not opposed to them.
Yeah, it's just like most of them suck is the problem.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Like,
so I'd be particular about it.
Yeah, it's sometimes it's really ugly, bro. I've seen people at events with like these shirts on, and I'm just like, this is like so whack. And then there's the people that walk around in public with Ahegao shirts on as well.
Oh my god, we were talking about that yesterday too.
We were talking about this yesterday.
We won't go too deep into it, but like that's something that like really like draws the line of like, you know, if you're trying to like frame this as like self-expression and like, you know, just like letting you like wear what you want and like you're fucking cringe, like that's something. If you like wear like an Ahegao shirt, like even not even like in public, but even like at like cons and stuff, like, you know, you're making like 99% of people who encounter you uncomfortable with that.
It's really just social awareness. Like it's not like some people will be like, oh my god, you're suppressing my ideals, you're suppressing my, you know, my self-expression. But like
that, bro.
Honestly, like to me, like while I'm okay, this is a little adjacent, but I'm not someone who like kink shames like at all. Like I really don't care like what people are into as long as they're not hurting other people. But like when it comes to stuff like that, I feel like that's something that has to be separate from like the public facing, just because like that's not something that people need to know. That's right. Like that doesn't like what relevance is told to most people. You're gonna pass her by in public.
Yeah,
like I don't know
what you're doing behind closed doors. As long as you're not hurting anyone, I don't care. But you don't have to flaunt that. Like,
exactly.
Yeah,
It's just like
I just like really like loathe whenever like people hide behind the term like self-expression, because I do think that part of, you know, humanity is very important. Like I don't want to like suppress that in any way that unless I have to, but I think this is like kind of where the line is drawn. If you know you're going to like make people uncomfortable, you know.
And more even into that is like you know, anime is it's done a lot of changing over the you know more recent years, where like it has become a little bit more mainstream, so it's like more okay for people to like express that they're into this. It's kind of become more normalized in that regard, but I still think that people need to be really they need to be really cognizant of what situations they're putting people in whenever you're walking around with something like that. Like it's just not it's just not it, bro. Please. If you're out there and you do that shit, please stop. Please.
Don't get it twisted. It's okay to wear anime apparel, but
yeah. I don't
be
mind.
decent.
Yeah, just like, oh my god.
All right.
Do we want to start from the high end or the low end? What do you guys?
I would say high end. I kind of want to like. I'm kind of in a good mood. I feel good. I feel good about anime. I want to start from like the good
low
stuff.
end is mostly me ranting. So
let's let's start with Miguel. Miguel, where do you want to start amongst the good shows?
Hey, I guess you can't really go wrong. Just talk about Made in Abyss, I guess. But
okay, I mean,
yeah, I was thinking like since like we started on like the Nanachi life-size figure. This is, like,
oh yeah, I mean honestly, like I just thought that shit was bad funny, bro. I was like holy fuck. 4K for a figure is I mean like if you have it, then by all means, but
yeah,
I definitely do not.
The means of it, then you know, go for it, shoot your shot.
That's like something like I feel like if I ever like made it in the anime community and I was like a big content creator, then that would make like a nice backdrop for like videos, since it's like a really good, like a really favorite series of mine. But other than that, it's like oof.
where are you gonna put it?
That's 3 months of rent, bro. Like holy shit. Like, but yeah, so starting with Abyss, there's a lot to talk about with Abyss for sure. It is in a lot of ways it feels like it is kind of putting doubts to rest in a way. Where like the first series of Abyss is like it sets up a lot of things thematically, but it also does the job of like introducing us to our characters and kind of creating that world that we're so immersed in, and kind of has you there. Like it feels like when you watch an Abyss episode, you're really there in the Abyss and you're part of the experience, and that's something that is super valuable in the first series that I think they're doing a really good job of still creating that environment even through season 2. You know, we have a completely new layer, obviously, new creatures, like new environments, just new dangers, of course. But at no point do I feel like I'm taken out of the experience. So I feel like this is not what I signed up for. It is actually exactly what I signed up for the entire time, and sometimes that is to a detriment for some people, because it is touchy. Like it is there's some very
it's not like an easily digestible series.
Yeah,
like, you don't just like every week you just like casually turn on Made in Abyss and expect to like, you know, just like get through an episode without like something that really hits you happening, you know?
Yeah, it's really heavy stuff. The best way I would describe it is it's a show without a filter. I think it's a really good description of it, where other shows may feel like it's not necessary to kind of demonstrate not only the horrors, but just the sheer graphicness of some subject matter. Like this series does not pull any punches. Like they will show everything, and I think in some ways it is fair that it makes people uncomfortable. Especially like I don't know. It's like
yeah.
I don't want to feel like I don't want to feel like it's 100% essential all the time. Like there's some things that, you know, even I watch the show and I'm like, they really need to do that. And then like in some ways upon thinking about it, I'm like, yeah, they kind of did need to do that. And then other times I'm like, I still don't know. I don't know if that's kind of like you know, an ideology and the direction, like the director's standpoint. He's like, no, we need to like actually show everything, or else we're not, you know, maybe that's like his ideals. But I don't know, man. There even in the first 4 eps of this show, there's been some really crazy shit, like some really insane shit that we have witnessed.
Yeah, I think
for worse, it goes the extra mile.
Okay.
Oh yeah, like just, you know, it goes the extra mile. I definitely think that there are certain things that, like you said, don't need to be there. That said, I think it's really funny when Rico poops in that sound effect.
Oh yeah, no, that shit is hilarious. That shit is actually hilarious. Because you know that they were aware when they put in this sound effect that they were just like literally clowning. Like, what is going on?
Yeah.
What is this?
That's not something that just like slips under like production. Like you had to like place this here. You know what you were doing. You probably like watched this scene back like at least like 10 times to make sure that it was accurate to what you wanted it to be.
Like and like, you know, even like I mean that's one of the scenes that like people will probably feel like, you know, this wasn't really necessary. The whole like Rico, you know, pooping for lack of a better term. Not that they I don't want people to get the wrong idea either. It's not like they like go into super detail about her going to the bathroom. But I think even on the super touchy like stuff that might make people like feel like it's unnecessary, it still doesn't feel like it was like shoehorned or just like added just for like shock factor. And I think that's something that sets it apart from like some other shows, because like the whole Rico like having the runs thing is actually something that they set up all the way back in season 1 in the first 3 eps. When she was at the orphanage, that she gets the runs a lot. So like for them to even in situations like that, for them to like carry forward, it really feels like they don't like, there's nothing that they do that is on accident. Like they really just like do all this shit on purpose. And like for better or for worse, you're left feeling like was this what I signed up for? I'm not sure. But then like, you know, we look at like really well done scenes like the balancing. The balancing is something that was like, I think it's so weird, right? Because like the first season of the show, there is very clear like thematic shifts, right? There's like first 3 episodes character building, and then there's kind of the in between, you know, whenever they meet Ozen and whatnot, and like kind of they're prepping to actually go into the actual abyss. And then episode 10 is like the turning point, right? It's like the shift of this is now like you're unfiltered, this is the abyss, like that you're in there, right? And so like it kind of felt like they kind of did the same thing with like ep 3 of season 2, where like it was a lot of introductory stuff in the first 2 episodes, which was like necessary. But like the balancing scene in particular, like I kind of like opened our eyes to like, okay, this is some really brutal shit. This is not a forgiving environment that our characters have been put in. And somehow they managed to make us care about Ma, even though like we should hate Ma, right? Like
Yeah.
we should hate Ma because of what they did. But like, bro, that scene was crafted so well. Like I found myself actually like feeling bad while that scene was going on.
Yeah, for real.
I was like, holy shit, bro. Like, I don't know who voice acted Ma, but like the way they you know, portrayed the emotion and just the sheer pain that character went through, it was like, holy fuck, man. Like that was some crazy shit. That was something that really stuck with me past ep 3. And then, you know, I didn't expect them to go as crazy on ep 4, but then they did. So like I at this point, I don't know. This is like, is this what we're getting for the rest of the series? Is this
Ma is Sayu from Higahiro and Maki from Kaguya.
Oh, okay.
Funny.
Yeah.
Wow. That's like, man.
That's like kind of random.
Yeah,
like,
Saiyus are like asked to do insane things, dude.
Like, can you imagine like being a voice actor and you walk in and they're like, okay, for this scene, you're actually not saying any actual words at all for this. We need you to just say Ma in different intonations.
Yeah.
Honestly, like that's an important like skill as a Seiyu, like the way you just like handle like very subtle like inflections to things that like might not even be like words, but just like noises.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think the example that I always like bring up whenever like this type of thing comes up is like, you know, a silent voice and Nishima, because like most of the film she doesn't like say words, but like the few times she does, it's usually just like indiscernible noises when she's like trying to talk. But like that was handled with like so much like care and respect, and like they got a good voice actor for her too, like Sayori Hayami, like obviously like one of the most renowned voices in the industry. And like, you know, just like everything that went into like something as minute as just like noises and inflections is just like it just goes to show you like how much thought gets put into how a series sounds like, or how a character sounds to the audience, you know?
Yeah, it's like so like this actually brings up an interesting dynamic where like I've always found it extremely impressive when not even just a voice actor, but like a show in general can make you care about a character that does not speak our language and also does not look human. And the reason for that is, you know, if it were something like a dog or a cat, that is something that comes from like a point of relation from humans. Like we know dogs, we know cats, and like a lot of people hold these pets like very near and dear. But in Abyss, it's not like that, right? It's these creatures that they're interacting with don't look like humans at all. They don't speak our language. And so for them to be able to compel the audience to still care about these characters, I think is something really impressive, and not something that it does solely. There are plenty of shows that are able to do this, but I do think it's something really difficult. So I can't commend the VA. I can't commend the VA enough, because Ma is killing it right now, like for sure. I'm definitely in there, and I'm like I'm like, all right, bro, like like I didn't expect him to come back. That's the main thing, right? Like we thought that Ma was just there to demonstrate the balancing, and like
make an example of pretty much.
We didn't think that, you know, Ma would be seen again, and then we did. So it's like, oh, okay, so now my question is like, how long for the ride? Is Ma part of the crew now? Like, what are we doing? I don't know where we're going with this.
It's just even more insane. So like, just like preface what I'm about to like actually go into. It's like crazy that like in so many parts of the Abyss, it just feels like raw nature, you know? It just feels like there's like forces of nature and animals, and we're dealing with like understanding the ecosystems. But this is like you were talking about with the humanization of like Ma, just their whole society in general of the Hollows. It's extremely alive, and like the whole like idea of like value and like the whole like kind of market-esque system that they've created is so different. It's so distinct, and like I love like the way everything looks, the backgrounds, like the painted, like the strokes and everything. It looks like it's still like kind of primal and like very alien, but it's like a constructed society, you know? It's a lot different. It's really distinct, and I think the rules that they have in place, like with the balancing and everything, like it's so incredible to me that like this author is capable of like proving like it's not just like, you know, all the crazy monsters and everything. Like they've basically just created like an alien race from scratch.
This is like one of the things that I think that's the most impressive parts of this season in particular. Like you said, it's very different than what we're used to from a series like Made in Abyss. But like the way it's like externalizing like the new culture is like extremely like impressive and fascinating. Like you said, the way that they like kind of like depict the balancing and how like the rules of the village are always like prevalent, and that you always have to like consider them. It's very like thought-provoking, the way they like commodify the concept of value, and like, you know, we see like the consequences of if you like go against like the rules of this culture, and it really makes you like feel like you are part of something that is like that you understand, but is not something that you would like find yourself in, you know, just in your day-to-day life. But it really does make you think, and I think like episode 3 and episode 4 did a really great job just with like within like those 2 episodes of really making you kind of understand like what the characters are in for. And like that's another thing I think this season is doing really well, is that it's doing like simultaneous like character development extremely well. Because like I think like in Abyss, like prior, like in season 1 and the movie, it was kind of like always like characters got their individual moments where we got to like learn more about them and explore their values a bit more in depth. But it was kind of like a one at a time thing. Like, you know, when Nanachi was introduced, like the whole focus kind of like just shifted to her. Like Riko and Reg like got like the first half to like themselves, and like, you know, with the introduction of like Bondrewd and like his whole story and like Parishka, it kind of like blended them with like Nanachi's backstory. But like with this season, like they're doing a lot at the same time. Like,
yeah.
With the three main characters, I think that Rico, Reg, and Nanachi have all gotten like really like telling character moments. Like, I love when like Reg like encounters like Faputa and like he kind of like considers like his like lost memories for the first time in a while, and like the idea like that Nanachi kind of like sees her value as not her own merits, but like for the people that she's met in her time in the Abyss, like Miti, Reg, and Rico like mean the world to her, and I think it's like very she shows that. Like I love like a little like minute interaction where like Nanachi like shows a lot of concern for Rico whenever she's like like when she has the runs and she's obviously can't take care of herself, and she tells like Reg to like scout out while she like kind of like holds down the fort to make sure that she's safe. I just think to myself that something like that is something that she probably wouldn't have even like thought of like when we met her, because like she was just like, concerned for herself and Miti. But
that's definitely fair.
It's little things like that that I just like really appreciate, like that really give me a good sense of how far the character has come since we've met them.
The scenes involving like Rico like having the runs and shit, it's like people always like go like, oh my god, it's gonna be like weird, but it's like you said, it's like a recurring thing. And I like that, like, so Made Abyss like never shies away from like kind of going like the cruel nature of the Abyss. Like they'll constantly, like not constantly, but like every once in a while, this is super prevalent in season 1, where like you kind of almost forget it's like, oh, the Abyss is like fucked, and then we go like episode 10 because we had those like episodes in the middle, whereas like they introduced you in the beginning like the Abyss is dangerous, but like you have all this other moments where like nothing in particular is really happening, but at any moment stuff could happen, and like out of nowhere, and then episode 10 happens. So like stuff like, it's like if you're in the Abyss, obviously you don't have bathrooms, conventional bathrooms, and it's like this is just like a thing that you're gonna have to like deal with, like going like, or when they're sleeping at night and like Reg sets up like his like arm barricade thing. It's like you're literally never safe. It's like you gotta,
that shit is actually cool every time.
That was so dope. I love it
when he does
that was so dope.
There's so much care put into like every single detail, for better or for worse, literally every
literally better or worse,
like actually everything.
But that's the thing, that's like, it's like, okay, could we have done without this? Probably, but it's like you have to respect the craft. It's like, all right, this guy is fully committed to this. I think it's a guy.
Speaking on that, like I think like most of the things like in Made in Abyss, like however like grotesque like you might think it is, like is like it like speaks volumes on like how good like the world building is, because like this is like one of the most unforgiving worlds in the medium. Like just like the concept of the consequences that we have seen on screen, like it's like this is like why it's like so the way you like interact with like Made in Abyss like as like a piece of media is like not how you would interact with like most media nowadays. It's because like you have to like put in like a minimum level of thought and into like what you are like consuming, and that turns off a bunch of people, because like people are just here for like the fun. People are here to just like enjoy themselves, but like you just have to like appreciate that these like works are even like exist the way that they do, and that is like a type of like series that we are here for,
like honestly, like I mean there's a reason we're called the anime sovereigns, like it is because of this show, and there's just there's like literally I could talk about this show like literally forever. I don't think I'll ever run out of stuff to talk about, but like the season 2 is like tasks with different things. Like when we talk about like sequel theory, like season 2 of shows usually tasked with different things, just because you don't have to go at that initial like introductory phase. You don't have to like get us to know the character. Like you like we were talking about this before, Jeffrey, like what you're here for. At this point you know what to expect. If you've watched all the episodes and the movie, you know how brutal this world can be, and you know what you're getting into, and so like in terms of like identity of the series, like spot on. I think they're doing a great job so far. I don't feel like they're leaving anything in the back burner. All the characters are really interesting. Can we talk about the character designs this season?
I was gonna. We hadn't talked about Majikaja yet. I want to talk a little bit about him. Like Majikaja, like. So he's one of the few people there that like speaks English, or well, not English, Japanese.
Common language.
Common language. Yeah. So it's like he's pretty much used as like a thing. It's like, okay, this guy is like our guy is gonna explain the new community that we've run ourselves into. But never for a second do you kind of forget that like Majika just still like kind of a little bit of his own interest. It's hey, by the way, your value, you got stuff that people would want around here.
Oh yeah,
including me. Like hey, I'll take a finger. Yeah. I'll take a finger.
Bro, when the first market scene, when he was like, you could sell some of your skin or an eyeball, and then he was like, I would like to purchase before you sell to someone else if possible. I was like, oh shit, bro, like, oh my god,
it's so off-putting because like you don't get a sense that he's like trying to intimidate the characters. This is just how the culture is. Like this is like
that's what I'm trying to get at.
This is like this type of talk is like commonplace for them. Just like casually like giving up body parts for value.
Yeah,
I'm just like, oh.
Because like you would think that like your character that's like playing like the intermediary is like, okay, fine, you're the only one that I can talk to, or one of the few that I can talk to. So he's probably just gonna be like the quote unquote like good guy, and they'll maybe forget about like the roots of like what's happening in this society. It's like no, this guy's a constant reminder. It's like, yo, I'll take your body if you want, like please.
Yeah, and he goes even as far to say like when they first get introduced to him, he says that he wants a body, not a vessel. And so like it kind of feels like he's like trying to put together like his own like body that he could actually like use. And so I don't know what that's gonna turn out like. I don't know. He's an interesting character, and I think his voice actor is absolutely fantastic. I love his voice on this character.
I love the way he's animated too.
It's like that kind of like that unsettling, like unknown, like this doesn't really there's something like about this guy that moves different, like
it's like a lot of
this is an instance of like really like creative like use of CG, because like usually like CG is like seen as like a shortcut in anime, like we know this, but in like this particular case, like CG is like meant to show like how just the way he moves and how he looks to the other characters and also us the audience is just like completely unnatural. It's like unlike anything that like we have ever seen or that they have ever seen, and like that is like a creative like decision, like because like I'm sure like Kinema could have like probably animated him like normally if they wanted to, but they went with this route of making him like very like off-putting visually to us because that's what he is. It
doesn't feel like they did it out of necessity. It did it out of like how do we incorporate this character thematically, and because like he's the only one like that, right? There's so many hollows in the village, and some of them have really really crazy over the top designs, honestly. But he's the only one that's CG. So he's the only one. It's like a thing like very intentional.
If everyone in like if all the hollows kind of looked like that, it'd be like a thing that you probably wouldn't think about. It's like, okay, cool, they're just making consistency. It's like everyone's like this. But when you're putting all this like focus, like, all right, these people move differently because they are like hella different. And it's like this is like the prime example of it. It's just cool. It's caring about your characters, which I'll never really not like.
Really
always a good thing.
But, like I'm kind of swing the conversation a little different, but like he also talks about how like they mention like the human, like the kids, like the human children specifically are like one of the most like valuable things, and like the fact that like all the guys there are like collecting body parts, there's like this huge value on like just like human parts in general. I think like thematically really really is, first of all, just interesting. I want to see where they take it, but I think it feels almost consistent with a lot of the other themes of this story, and where it's like it's all about the exploration and the adventure, and we talk about how dark the series is too, but it's also like extremely beautiful. It's gorgeous, it's bright, and like there's tons of scenes where like it really runs the full gamut. And I feel like when you're a child and you're like kind of that blank slate, I feel like it's almost getting at the idea that like exposure is something that like you can't really get like kind of again, that kind of value is like irreplaceable.
No, I agree with that for sure. The last thing, because I don't want to spend too long on obviously
might get stuck here forever,
but no bro, honestly, like I could talk about this show forever. but so the last thing is actually kind of going off of what Bobby was saying, and that so one of the most important things that I think that this season has done is kind of put into perspective how our main character, and I'm gonna refer to our main character as Rico here, even though we technically have three main characters for sure, but Rico right, is where our story started. And she's also the only one that is just a human, right? She's the only one that is like actually just straight up human. Because while Nanachi used to be human, obviously she has powers and whatnot that she can do that normal humans cannot. Reg obviously is not human. Has the arms, has the, heightened senses and whatnot. And so like for her to be in this environment, right, it's kind of that like literally just a child out here in the wild. Like it's so dangerous for her at every turn. And sometimes her the way that her character is written, she's always very curious and always looking for the new thing to be excited by, can get her in a lot of trouble, as we saw in the last episode. It's just like it's really like commentary in so many ways, not only through her, but this previous episode, really, I was just thinking about it. It made me sit down and think about like how many people know about the consequences of doing something really, really horrible in this world, but they choose to do it anyway, right? Like, because that scene where she got pulled into the alley, she even said like, the balancing is gonna come after you if you do this. Like, we saw what happened with Ma before, and those things did not care at all. And so like that just speaks volumes to just how valuable that these humans are considered, for them to be like, fuck it, like I'm just go for it anyway. Thank God it didn't work out, but holy shit, man, like that in and of itself is like a whole, like that is social commentary at its finest if I've ever seen it. Like
that scene's also how they like get us to like care about Ma more, because there's like that little like delicate scene where Ma looks at like where the guts came out of Mania.
Oh yeah.
You can tell, like I'm not exactly sure what Ma's thinking, but you can tell that there's some degree of like learning from mistakes there.
Yes,
there's like a little bit of redemption when you see that Ma is like reflecting on the damage that they've caused, and it's kind of like, I see. It's so poignant, like how it's trying to build itself thematically. It's so cool.
Yeah. Speaking on like the idea of like consequence, like from the beginning of this series, and especially like in the last like 2 episodes, like I really like got a sense of like, because like one of the central themes of Made in Abyss, like to me, is like the idea of like sacrificing things for your dreams, your ideals, and your values. Like that's been there since the beginning. Like from like episode 1, we knew that like diving into the abyss was dangerous, like as a baseline. But like when it comes to the point where like you have to like literally like say goodbye to your family and the life that you once knew in order to like embark on what is essentially like a suicide journey to a lot of people, is like so like compelling to me. Because like, throughout like Made in Abyss, like not even like just like this season, but like the characters have like lost so much already.
So
like
much.
Rico like essentially like has like a different arm, like Reg has lost an arm. Nanachi like has her whole backstory of like, becoming a hollow and losing Miti at the end of season 1. These characters, like they've lost so much to get here to where we are in season 2, and I don't think like that that idea is like gonna end anytime soon with like the introduction of like this new culture and how much it like commodifies value. It really like makes you like reflect on like the things that like keep you going in your life and on like your journey. Like Machikaze says one thing in the most recent episode that like really hit a note with me, where paraphrasing, he says that like at what point do you tell yourself like enough lies to where they become your truth.
Yep.
And that really like resonated with me, because like from what we've seen with all the characters, like it just like sometimes it just seems like they're telling themselves it's going to be okay, even though that like everything around them would like give you not that idea. But there is like some merit to thinking about that, and that's kind of like what I love about like this season the most, is that like instead of just like telling you like this is the way it is, like it kind of creates this like gray area where you're just kind of like free to think about what you value. Like not even like talking about like the characters, but like just us as viewers. It's something that like we can take into real life and like really think about why we do what we do, what keeps us going, like what are like the most like important parts about our lives that we think define ourselves, and it's just so much to think about this series, like how far like these characters have come and how and where they're going. It's just like I'm gonna be here for like the entire journey, and I'm sure everybody who is watching it is like along for the ride as well.
Man, it's just every week it's just like I have so many questions, and like sometimes the questions get answered quickly, sometimes they get answered in a roundabout way, sometimes more questions just get created. Like this last episode, right? Literally I came out with so many questions, because the last 3 minutes of episode 4, they threw so much at us. Like it was just a lot. It was a lot that I did not expect for them to do. And so like now I'm just like, damn, where the fuck do we go from here? But yeah, really guys, if you have not seen this series, can't recommend it enough. It's 4 episodes into the new season. They drop on Wednesday mornings. I always watch them immediately because I can't wait. I just can't. I love this series so much. So definitely looking really strong for this season. But let's try to talk about let's give some of the other shows some spotlight too, because
right, well, that was Miguel's pick. Does anybody else want to pick?
Yeah. So Bobby, you got anyone that you want to talk about in particular?
Oh, this season.
Has anyone watched that one?
What'd you say?
Has anyone watched that one? The one you were just hovering?
No.
Oh no, this started late. And so it started late, and it's a Silverlink show. And so I asked everyone, I was like, does anyone actually want to suffer through this? Because I'm not. There's no way I'm watching this alone. Like I'm not. I'm not watching this if I'm the only one watching it. But
I was gonna watch it, but then I realized I'm probably not strong enough. You know.
It also looks like the release schedule's kind of weird because F3 doesn't come out for another 2 weeks.
What the fuck?
I don't know what that maybe.
There's no way I'm watching it then, bro.
Yeah, no. I might watch it. I don't know. We'll see. It is a Silverlink show, and that's saying something.
Yeah, you already know what it is. Well, let's just go to Licorice right now, and then we'll.
Yeah, this would have been like my pick to talk about because you know, aside from Made in Abyss, obviously, this is probably the show that I look forward to the most each and every week. So. Like,
for different reasons too, right? Isn't that great? Isn't that great that there's such quality that manifests itself in different ways, right? Like Licorice is really bringing something unique to the table that I didn't think that I needed, but like honestly, it's pretty dope. Like I fuck with it.
Yeah, just a quick refresher. This is like an original project from A1 that is really like. Man, like me watching this show like every week, like just reminds me like why I love like anime as an artistic medium. Like, just so from the first 2 episodes, like I wasn't like 100% convinced that I would like the show. Like it was very fun, very like action packed, very moe forward, and like you know those are like a recipe for something that you know I would like, but like I didn't get the sense that I would like really like love the show until like episode 3.
Yeah, episode 3.
Yeah, like I think that was like the turning point where like I really got a sense that this show was like amazing, very like well intentioned, and something that I wanted to end up really good by the end of it. Because you know, there's always that question mark with originals, like you know, they can have like a really good beginning, but then sometimes like they fall off like at the end, and it's like it's really unfortunate when it happens, and like. I just want these things to like be good until the end for the one time, you know. But
we've all felt that.
yeah, just going in because like I'm probably like the biggest like advocate for this series like out of all of us.
Yeah.
Like the reasons why I think it's like so great is because one probably like the most important thing is like the character acting is like so top notch in this series, like. The way that the characters are like animated, just like their entire like persona is like worn on their sleeve like most of the time. Like Chisato is like the most like overt example of that, where she's just like so lively and bubbly, and she's just like a joy to watch like in every single episode. But it's also like how like visually well-intentioned the series is, because like it's kind of hard to like explain without just showing you like certain things in the episodes, but the layouts of this show are like very clever and also like very like aesthetically pleasing. Like there's like a lot of like wide shots that give you like a good feel for like the space that they're occupying, and it's also like it tells you a lot about like the characters, because in episodes like 3 and 4, there's like a lot of like wide shots where like Chisato and Takina are like very like distant from each other, and like by the end of each episode, like that distance has like closed because like they have like a better understanding of each other because of the time that they spent together within that episode. And that's the type of thing that just like puts a smile on my face.
Yeah.
Whenever, because like it shows that there is like the show has a great sense for like the characters and like their struggles and how like they feel like they exist within this world. Because like another thing that I love about the show is that it doesn't shy away from the fact that like this world is like kind of fucked up.
Yeah.
Like there's terrorism involving like guns. There's usually like one scene in every episode that is kind of like a stark reminder that like this world like doesn't like pull any punches. And like I say this world, but it's kind of like a reflection of society in a way. But
yeah, like
the
subway scene was
to an
like one
extreme
that really
degree
stuck
where
out to
like
me.
crime is actually happening in the moment.
Yeah, for sure. At all times, right? Like it's not. There's no moment that's safe from it.
Yeah, but like it's like the progression of each episode to me is really like hitting all the right notes. Like because like Khalil, I don't believe you've like seen like the most recent episode, so I only like
I'm watching it
on,
after this. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. So I'll only speak up to like episode 4. So like oh man, like in episode 3, like where the episode where I think like the show really got good. It has like this theme of like society just like doing everything to like just fuck you over. Like Takina like gets blamed for something that like it really wasn't like her fault or like a misjudgment on her side, but like it was really like treated like this, and like she feels like really like ostracized, like really like cheated, and that the world is like against her. But like she finds solace in a character who like sees like her true value in like Chisato, because like I love the scene where all of like the different like Licorices are like giving like kind of like snarky like looks at Takina, because like she was like essentially exiled from the DA to like work kind of like this like lesser job with like Chisato, and they give her like weird looks of like, oh man, like you're friends with like Takina, like that's ew, gross.
Yeah.
And then like Chisato just like owns it and is like just like picks her up and like hugs her, and I'm just like, bro, this is like so sweet, and like it's like so telling for like both characters, just like how they exist within this world. And like episode 4 is like an extension of that, where like it's literally like a date episode where like they get to like kind of understand each other's headspaces a bit more. Like Chisato gets some like clarity to like how like her place in like the DA, and like why she doesn't like kill people when she like clearly like has the opportunity to, and that's just because like she values life, and it shows within her character like how lively she is, because like it's really like these ideas of like these little moments of freedom in like a world that is like very clearly fucked up that keep you going. And I'm like, dude, that's awesome. And like this is just like me like rambling about
it's fine
of episodes, but like it's literally like in every episode where I think that like it covers like something different, and it covers it like very well,
I can get behind
and you I'm so like I can't understand like how ecstatic I am whenever a show like this comes along. Things that have like great character acting, great just focus on like making them like feel human. Like I don't know if there's like a word to like describe this, but like the best way I can is like whenever I like watch a show, I like feel like in touch with like my humanity, and I think that's something that like demonstrates like how profoundly powerful anime can be sometimes. Like it's something I didn't really expect from a show like this. Like I was pleasantly surprised when it went in this direction.
Agreed. I wanted to pull Bobby in for this because we saw your tweet, man.
Oh yeah.
We saw your tweet, and like obviously we're not the type of people to get mad at something like that.
No, I mean, I think that I have a pretty strong like understanding in my own internal like system of like what is good and what do I like, right? And I think for me personally, the show hits a weird spot. I felt the same way about like Fate Zero, which is like highly critically acclaimed show. Like there's something about it for me where in my brain when I watch this show, when I use my senses in my brain, I feel like this show is great. Like Jeffrey already mentioned, the character acting and the animation is like unbelievably fluid. It's incredible. Like I like the OST definitely is good, and like the characters, I can tell that there's a lot of subtlety and intentionality in like a lot of the ways that they're showing things in the show. And I think episode 3 and 4 are definitely much better than 1 and 2. If I'm being honest, I actually found episodes 1 and 2 pretty boring. Personally, like my brain says that this show is really good, right? I can tell that this show is extremely good. In my heart, I just don't feel it. Like when I personally am watching this show, like I'm appreciating it a lot. Like I appreciate the show. I'm just not getting like ecstatic, you know? I'm not getting like the funny feelings in my stomach or my heart that are like, ooh, you know? There's something about it. Yeah, there's something about it that just doesn't strike with me. And it's not like a diss on the show, because I think it's really good based on what I'm like perceiving. It's just like that separation. There's something about it for me that is missing. And I think part of it is like the whole, I love the character interactions, right? Like I think in episode 4, when it's Chisato and Takina like interacting, I think episode 4 for me so far has been like the best one so far, because there's so much focus on the characters doing that. I think that the world that they set up to me is not interesting personally. Like like when the action is going off, like it's like aesthetically cool, but like personally I can't find myself to care like at all. So but maybe that's just me, you know. I mean, like I said, I'm separating what I think is good and what I like, and there are parts of the show that I like, but mostly it's an appreciation, not really me like having like quote unquote a lot of fun, I guess.
So like this kind of goes back to episode 4 of the podcast, where we were talking about making a masterpiece, and how we talked about how even though there are objective frame of references when we're talking about like a technicality of the show, or you know, as something written well, right? There are objective bases which we can evaluate certain things, but then there's always that sense of, there's always some form of subjectivity in it. There has to be, because we're humans and we have tastes. And so like, while you may be able to appreciate that, like, oh yeah, no, I think this show is pretty good, it could still not be for you, and vice versa. Something you could feel like is like not that good at all, but maybe it strikes a personal chord with your personal taste, and so you really enjoy watching it. And that's something that a lot of people have a hard time separating. So if anything, Bobby, this just means that you're a very experienced and thought out watcher, because not many people would be able to admit like, this show is good, but it's not for me. A lot of people would feel the same way that you do, but then be like, this show is garbage. Like the difference between those two those two schools of thought is so important, and I wish more people would think that way.
Bobby doesn't care about Moe forward with guns. You heard it here.
I'm not gonna lie. Listen, I can dig the Moe parts like in its own right, but the guns, honestly, the biggest killer for me. I literally don't care personally at all about like the whole subplot. Like I don't know, like I don't know.
You know what?
The subplot has like an element of like the unknown to it so far. Like we've been like being like drip fed like what is that like going on in terms of like the terrorism plot line, and like that's something that is just like, you know, pending. We only have like 5 episodes out of 13, so that's something that you know, I hope doesn't detract from the show in any way, because I can't really like tell if it is or not at this point.
Of course.
But you know, I do appreciate that whenever like that distinction of like, you know, what is good and what is not, and what is like not for me is made, because like you know, I think a lot of like Klo's like stream is like, you know, based around fighting games. It's kind of like the same thing, where like people like think like the games themselves are like bad, when it's really like people have different values of what they enjoy in any like,
I talk about
particular
this all
experience.
The time. Yeah.
It's like a recent thing too, because I recently like saw like some discourse on Twitter that kind of like said like, oh, like you have to like start making the distinction of like, this game is bad and this game is not for me, because it's so annoying when people just like call a game trash when like, you know, obviously like there's a large community of people who do enjoy the game and do enjoy like what it brings to the table. And you shouldn't like shame them for liking it just because you don't, you know.
Like okay, here's the best way that I can explain to the viewers, right? And I've been this is actually like the type of example that makes it so important for me to make these complex distinguishments, because I am kind of like really a hard ass when it comes to like promoting thoughtful discourse. I'm really not about the ignorant shit at all, like and for that reason, like when I speak, I'm usually pretty long-winded because I always want to really express what I'm trying to get across to people and not be mistaken, because that shit is so annoying. So the example given, right, is that if someone asks you about a show, right, and your first response is, this show is dog shit, just don't watch it, like it's really bad, right? That person's personal taste might be something that align with that show, and they might be discouraged from ever trying it because you said that it was complete garbage, right? And they might never give it a try. They might try it and it might end up being their favorite series of all time, but because of the kind of the rhetoric that you've created around calling this you know, piece of media, because that's what these are, you know, shows, games, whatever, because you called it bad, they might be discouraged from ever giving it a try. And especially in a community like anime, right, there's a lot of things that are exposed to people by the recommendation process, right? Like a lot of people start shows because their friends tell them to start shows, and so a lot of people also don't start shows because their friends tell them not to. And so that's why it's really important to really consider the person's taste, and be willing to say, like, you know, I think that this is something that is pretty okay. I didn't really fuck with it all that much, but like I don't think it's like bad, you know. There's a lot of shows that I feel like that way, like a lot of shonen I can recognize, like it's pretty good, but like it's just not my personal, it's not what I'm looking for, you know. So like, yeah, just try to be a little more open-minded what we're talking about.
I don't like the aggressive. I'm not mad at Bobby at any way.
Yeah,
because,
of course
like,
not.
Like enjoying the show, because like I think as long as like you can like recognize like why a show is good or why it would like mean a lot to somebody, then that's fine.
Or
but, like,
articulate why you feel said way.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, like it's all really about like, you know, articulating like your thoughts on things, which is not a skill that most people have.
Definitely not.
Unfortunately.
Definitely not.
But, you know, that's like a bare minimum of like, you know, recognizing why a show is good, and like, you know, however much you enjoy it or however much it like resonates with you, it's not something that you can control, like or other people can control, or like, you know, convince you otherwise. So
it's like a couple studios.
I've done my part, you know, and I do my part for like most of the shows that I'm like very like enthusiastic about. And the rest is like up to you whether or not like you see the value in my words. Not that you don't, but like, you know, however much it like speaks to
you. Fuck what you said, bro. That's really tough.
Sometimes I get that impression, because like, not to like diss on Miguel, I'm just like going off on everybody. But like whenever I try to get him into like the Ghibli films, he's always like, man, these are probably like old as shit, like I don't really care about them. I'm like, okay, like I've spoken like highly about them, and I guess that just doesn't matter to you. And I'm like,
you a Ghibli hater, Miguel?
I've never really watched them much. I've only seen like Howl's Moving Castle and like some other. What the fuck else have I seen? I don't know. I haven't seen much.
Everyone's seen Spirited Away.
No, I haven't seen Spirited Away.
That's crazy.
that's actually crazy. Like, let's see. There's
I think this conversation made Yurei Deco is a good one to follow up with, just because of the idea of like,
oh yeah,
Science Saru, Gainax, and Trigger are shows that like are studios that like get big reactions from people, either positive or negative.
I forgot like for watching this.
so like the thing is, right, with shows like this is that I always the reason that I find such value, because like Trigger to me is a studio that is extremely high value in my eyes, because of kind of the concept of risk, where like they have an idea that is extremely eccentric and really out there, and still they go for it, right? They still really go for it. And like Science Saru is kind of like that too, where like the concepts that they're looking to paint are a little bit abstract and a little out there, and like that kind of manifests itself in the way that they express like their style of like art and animation as well, where like a lot of people saw this show and they're like, oh, it's a children's show, and then they just kind of discount it as like not valuable. But like, you know, we're what, 4 or 5 episodes in at this point, and it's like, I don't see how people could think it's bad. Like I'm not really piecing that together, because like there's still so many questions I have about the world that they're in. And also, like, from the very first episode when they introduced the concept of love, and you know, clout. Having clout having like, you know, value socially. There was even a scene where like the guy lost his love, and then his physical appearance changed. I thought that was really, really interesting. So like all of it from the very beginning to me was like extreme social commentary on kind of the state of man and social media, and how we've come to value like perceptions of how we're touted on online spaces, as opposed to, you know, who you are as an actual person. And so like I think there are some deep thought-provoking concepts here in the show, and I really fuck with it.
There's another thing we've learned is that like that it's not something for everyone, and like, you know, going back to like what you said about like risk, but it's also that, but also like, you know, how like widely appealing your works are, like from like the conceptual phase. Like it's something that like studios like Trigger and like Science Star like don't have, because like they have like this very like set on like aesthetic that they want to go for. You know, like a thematic like driving force that all of their shows like tend to have, like do not resonate with everybody. And not that this should like be a reliable metric, but like this show currently has like a 3 point something on Crunchyroll, and like that's very low.
It's only 61% on
in terms of, like, you know, public reception. Not, again, it's not reliable, but like Crunchyroll is a website where like most things tend to be at least like, you know, 4.5 or higher out of 5, just like on principle. And if something is like that low, then like people look at it and like think it like, man, this shit must be really bad if it's this low. And that's kind of like what we want to like, you know, counteract and like fight against, because we you know, we as in like, you know, the people who have like watched it. I know Bobby hasn't watched the show yet, but we think that this show is like, you know, at a baseline, like very like interesting, very like thought-provoking. Like it says a lot. It's looking to like say a lot about like society, like modern society, and how like integrated like social media and like clout is to like how people like value themselves and value others. Whether or not it's going to like stay on the rails is not something I can say for certain, but you know, I'll be along for the ride for sure, because like this is something that like I think if it turns out to be like, you know, from beginning to end, like very like well intentioned and like well directed, it's going to be like pretty great. So I agree as well.
I just want to pitch in. There's two ways. There's 2 ways to really make Crunchyroll hate your show. There's 2 ways. Way number 1 is to censor Booba. Way number 2, Crunchyroll, they hate the people in the comments. They hate censors. Every top comment is only about censors. If there's a show like that this season, they hate it, dude. It's atrocious to them. The second way is to not look like normal anime. If on like the impression they're like, this show's ugly because it just doesn't look normal, they hate it. It's crazy. Unbelievable, honestly.
It's actually, you know, that's something so interesting, because like you know, there are so many different styles out there, like quite literally infinitely many styles that can manifest themselves in anime. And so like, I don't know, like when I see a show that looks aesthetically different than what I'm used to, like that's a point of interest for me. I'm like, this is kind of cool. Like this is something that is you know, it's unfamiliar, and some people interpret that unfamiliarity as like I'm uncomfortable because it, you know, it doesn't look the way that I'm used to it looking. But you know, so we always talk about expression in the medium, and like that's one of the ways that it contributes to expression is the way that the show actually looks aesthetically. And so like for people to write it off just because it doesn't look the same as like, you know, Naruto or whatever, like I don't know, man. Like because I don't like when I'm watching the show, like I'm able to identify, like we're all able to identify, like when something is there technically, or if it's not there technically. If it was like a poorly animated, like you know, all the characters are off model a lot and stuff like that, okay, then yeah, I could understand it. But I don't see that when I see the show. I just see a unique art style, and you know, it's crazy like how people take that at face value, right? They just make a judgment immediately based on you know, the first shot of the show. Like, does this look like something that I'm gonna watch it? It's like, come on, man, you gotta get it.
Yeah, like, okay, so King Kong the animation, is currently looked upon as like pretty well regarded. People like it. I was there when it was airing season.
Oh,
don't
yeah.
think I fucking forgot.
Oh, yeah.
I don't fucking forget these things, you motherfuckers.
I'm talking to you.
That's actually hilarious.
I think part of it is like with Yuri Deca in particular is like this elitism of like anime versus cartoon, where they look at this thing, it's like, this is a cartoon or some shit. It's like, oh, come on, dude. Like, it's just
yeah, it's like people just don't get it. they don't really get it. Just because, you know, something is supposed to be a Japanese style of animation does not mean that you're limited to just one character. Like, not everyone has to look like a Toriyama character for it to be anime, bro. Like, promise you, I've seen some crazy shit out there. We've seen full CG shows that look amazing, right? Like, you, yeah. and so like at this point, like there's just so many different ways that they can do it that I don't know why you would. I just please don't do this to yourselves, guys. If you're listening, like just just watch the show, man. Just give it a try, and try to really take it for what it's trying to say, because there are some things here that they're trying to say that they don't explicitly say it just outright in the open, but you could tell that like they're not doing it by accident.
My thing with the show is at the very least it's gonna be like a cool little like I'm interested in the world they're telling me about, because like, oh shit, this is different. It's like, it's commentary on real life stuff. And it's like, okay, cool. Even if I don't end up liking, like, you know, what the execution of what it's done, at the very least we got a cool little world that we can work with. So it's like, that's fine.
Yeah. Hack is also really funny. I fuck with Hack.
Yeah.
He's actually really funny. Okay, let's talk about I mean, I guess a lot of people are talking about Call of the Night, right? And so Call of the Night, like, man, this is such a lie. Like, this is a lie. This is not a Leaded Film show. This is a Shaft show. This is a Shaft show. And it is, man, it's so fucking pretty, bro. Like, it's crazy. Like, the camera work that they have on some of the shots on this show are just like, I did not, like, they're just doing a lot, bro. I fuck with it. They're doing a whole lot right now, though.
It's crazy when like the whole show looks as pretty as the key art. That's kind of insane.
Yeah, it actually looks like this. Like, this
it actually looks better in the show than it does here.
like they've translated it into motion, and like that's the thing about anime, right? Is that it is art in motion, and the motion is the beautiful thing about this show. Is like the way that they're manipulating, the way the characters move, the way the camera is interacting, the lighting is also really sick. It's just like, it's so fucking cool. And like the concept, right? The concept of the show itself is like, it's like pretty simple, I would say. Like, you know, MC wants to be a vampire. Like, you know, it's a little goofy, a little comedy thrown in there. But like, I also feel like the way that they're setting things up you know, because we're still pretty early on into the season, there could be some pretty deep stuff that comes out of it. I don't know if they'll take it that route.
I'm actually, that's an expectation that I have. Like,
yeah.
I don't know like how like the general, like, you know, populace thinks that the show is going to turn out, but I think it's going to like be like really like compelling. You know, just from like the first like 4 episodes that we have. Like, I'm really like seeing something in the show that, like, not that I haven't seen it before, because like, you know, this is very like Shaft inspired, but like, you know, I think it's like really like cool when something like this comes around that like is familiar to you, but it's by like different people, you know. One thing I like really want to like praise this show for is like how like the setting and like the production techniques like really complement each other, because like you said, like the way that like the lighting is handled and the way the colors of the night, they've like really like come together in like those wide shots. Like you really get a good sense for like the city and like nightlife in like every single shot. And like I wouldn't be like saying something like this if it was like, you know, just like a few shots each episode, but like consistently like throughout the entire episode, it's not like, it's like I'm looking at something that is like making me really think. Like there's like no downtime in my opinion. And you know, it kind of goes without saying that like this is like very like Monogatari inspired, given like the people working on it. But that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, even with like the concept, because like, you know, there are vampires, and like, you know, that's a, you know, essential part of like the progression of the plot. But like I think it's really going in a nice direction, especially in like the two most recent episodes. So like the first two episodes were kind of like the introduction to like the setting, the environment, and the two lead characters. And in episode 3, they introduced a new character, Akira, who is like Ko's classmate and I guess childhood friend to a certain degree. And like she kind of adds like a new layer to the show, because like the things that this show is like kind of exploring is like, you know, how you like confront like your personal problems. So like Ko like kind of like runs away from his problems. Like in the night, he's really trying to like escape the things that like cause him like stress and anxiety in like day-to-day life. And he kind of like finds like this escape in Nazuna, who like presents him with like a very like fantastical like opportunity of becoming like a vampire. And that's kind of like what he's pulled to. But Akira is like kind of a different idea, where like she recognizes that the things like in day-to-day life are like very like mundane and draining and boring, but she kind of like lives with them. Like she's like complacent.
She's a very relatable character.
Yeah. And like she like her efforts in her introduction and in the most recent episode are like trying to like get Ko to like come back to school, kind of like pull him back to like this life of like normalcy. And the push and pull of like this dynamic between like these three characters is like really interesting to me, because like Nazuna is like pulling like Ko to like this kind of like this path of like rebellion and like just like defiance, I suppose, from normal life, and Akira is like trying to pull him the other way.
Yeah. So yeah, go ahead. No.
Oh, and I think visually the show is like depicting this push and pull very, very well, especially in the most recent episodes when Akira was introduced. Because like, I guess in the most recent episode they are kind of like sleeping together. And Ko is kind of like sandwiched in the middle of like these two characters, and just like the way that they are like framed in the camera, and like the way that they're like facing, it's kind of hard to explain without actually showing it to you, but like, you know, take my word for it. The show is like very visually well intentioned. I get that sense of what the show is trying to like explore in terms of its themes. And, you know, even if it like doesn't end up like resonating with me like on a personal level, I can like appreciate it from what I'm seeing, what I'm observing. And, you know, we talked about that earlier. Like that's something that has to be said, you know?
Yep, absolutely. There's a few things that strike me about this show. First thing is, it feels to me like the concept of night, the very existence of night as a concept is like kind of like a living, breathing organism. And it only feels that way because of the way that they're manipulating the way the production value works. And I think that's something that's so cool. Like the night is a living, breathing entity.
Yeah, I love how it looks.
And the characters like exist within that you know, that environment. I think that's so fucking cool. The second thing is that, you know, this is one of the shows that comes up whenever people talk about the season of Horny. And so like, so the thing is, right, there some people, whenever we talk about shows that like kind of reach onto like the ecchi side, there are some people that think like that we as grown men cannot handle there being like a boob on the screen or something like that. That's not actually what we're getting at. Well, where it becomes a problem is if I feel like the ecchi is detracting from what the show is like actually trying to say to me. Like, does it need to be there, or is it just added there for simple fan service, right? And Call of the Night is a show where I don't think the ecchi nature of some of the situations that are put in have detracted from its message at all. In fact, like, I think it adds to the thematic presence of the main character in this regard. And so, like, I definitely commend them for doing that as well, because, like, I think it's easy to judge things. And like, if you just if someone like shows you a scene from the show, you might be like, bro, I'm not gonna, like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, why is she drooling during this bite scene, bro? Like, they did not need to do that. But even that being the case, I feel like it is still something that is super valuable, and I'm definitely really enjoying watching the show from week to week. And the last part is, like, you know, this show, a lot of ways, that the dynamic between Nazuna, Ko, and Akira reminds me of Fully Cooley. And the reason that it reminds me of Fully Cooley is because Haruko, pink-haired girl from Fully Cooley, is kind of like Nazuna, where she's like pulling the main character out of like his comfort of like normalcy. You know, he has a pretty ordinary life. He thinks it's really boring, and she's like kind of pulling him out of that. And then there's also like forces like his hometown friends and whatnot that are trying to like get him to come back to the, you know, average everyday routine where nothing is, you know, spectacular. It's just kind of like day-to-day stuff, very boring. But you know, and so like I definitely drew some parallels between the two, but this is doing it in a like a really different way. So I'm definitely here for it. And you know, even like I think Nazuna's character design is really funny too. Like, I don't know.
Yeah.
She's just really out here, bro. Like,
of all the shows that can be like a part of like the season of horny, this is definitely one that is very high quality horny. Yeah. You know, it's like
high quality horny. That could be like multiple things.
And there's levels to this. But yeah,
all I'll say is like this is like a rare instance of a show where like fan service is actually like integral to like, you know, what the show is like trying to say. And I say like I can't stress this enough. This is like so rare that I say this. It's like because like the fan service is really like showing like the perspective of like the main character Ko, and like kind of how he sees things. Like we see most of the things like through his perspective, and like this is like really like, you know, it's not detracting from it, it's adding to it, like exactly. As a matter of fact, you know. Yeah, not to like draw more comparisons to like another series where like fan service is actually like very important to like what the show has to say. Yeah, it feels necessary, and like it's not like it's like, you know, I would say it's like my thing, but like I can appreciate it when it's there, when it can like turn something that like is like most people see as like inherently negative into something that actually like enhances the experience, you know.
Yeah, but then they'll turn around and watch like Ishizoku reviewers and be like, "This is the greatest show ever." Like, all right, bro.
I just feel like with Call of the Night, it just makes sense. It's like the fan service on screen is like this works. Or not works, but like it makes sense. It's like
let's talk about where's Kumicho. So like man, it's like this type of show is like essential for a season. Every season there needs to be that one show that you can you watch, and you know it's gonna be of a certain high quality, and you know that you're gonna come away from it feeling very, very good about what you just watched. And that is definitely this show this season. I would say like last season it was like Daemon, where it was like kind of our anchor. Like if you needed a palate cleanser for the season, like this is it. This is the palate cleanser. It's actually like pretty interesting in general. The dynamics of, you know, it's a Yakuza family, and so I think that by nature like raises a lot of questions, because there's a lot of characters and they, you know, play different roles, and like this guy is literally called the Demon of Sakuragi, and it's like now he has to take care of this little girl, and it's like so that you know, there's some comedy that arises from that dynamic in general, but god damn, this show is so cute, bro. Like holy shit, it's this show is so damn cute, and like I expected it to take a little bit longer for it to be as cute as it is.
Right.
But bro, just like even in the first few episodes, like holy shit, bro, I'm gonna die. Okay.
It was kind of weird because like I thought, because you know the way they introduced like Kirishima to us, or Toru, whatever, like it kind of says like, all right, yo, you need to learn how to like take it back and like not be like, you know, constantly in like your Yakuza mode, whatever. And it's like, okay, cool. He's got to learn how to be a babysitter to this girl. It's like not instant like cuteness, instant like a babysitter of the year for the most part. So he's like beating people up. But
it's crazy because it like I see it and I'm thinking that like they're trying to tell us something by the way that they approached it. Like the way that I thought about it was maybe he actually always had this side to himself, but because of the nature of his work and you know, perceptions around, you know, the nature of being in the Yakuza and, you know, having to command respect from your peers and your community and whatnot, he never really had an avenue to express that side of him. It was never a necessity. In fact, like some people would paint him as like soft if they ever saw him being like this, but for him to be like this so early on into the story, like kind of really tells me that like he always had the capacity. It just like never was needed until now. And I think that's really cool because this is another show that is like really focused on relationship dynamics. And like this time it's not blood family, right? It's not like father-daughter. He's like a part of the Yakuza quote unquote family, but like they're not blood related. So I think it's definitely a little different in that regard. And I also think it's a really cool thing that they're doing. Like I'm very much enjoying seeing it play out.
One of like a small detail that I think is like very cool is that like all of like the Yakuza like have like this like black bracelet tattoo on their like wrists to kind of like signify that they're like, you know, very dangerous, like, you know, don't mess with me, otherwise I'll like punch your face in type vibe. But like in like shots with like Kirishima and Yaka, like instead of like being like a very like intimidating mark, it's like a very like gentle and delicate mark of like, you know, this is like who he is. And like it just goes to show like there's a lot of sides to like the Yakuza family that like, you know, most people like aren't aware of. It's kind of funny because like we like this comes up whenever like we're watching the show week to week, but like the depiction of like Yakuza in like most media nowadays is actually like very, very positive. Like whether it's like video games like the Yakuza series or like shows like this, like the Yakuza are getting like pretty like good publicity, and like I'm not sure like how close to reality that is, but like I think like the evolution of like Yakuza as like just like this like blood like this bloodthirsty like mafia force has like kind of like developed into something that's a lot more like relatable, something that people can like kind of like really like get behind in terms of like what it is like to like be part of like this, you know, family unit essentially. And I think this show is like a culmination of like that positive media over the years.
Yeah, I agree. Like it really feels like in this case the Yakuza is really a force for good. Like we've been able to see a bunch of different members of it, and even ex-members of the family that these guys exist in, and like almost everything that they do is pretty well intentioned. The scene that really stuck out to me was the scene where they went to the festival and he was trying to get the rabbit for Yaika, and and it was like nailed down, and like, you know, and Kirishima gets so mad because it's like, bro, you're literally scamming people. Like this is not what you're supposed to be doing. And so like he does what needs to be done for the betterment of his community, and also on top of that, you know, getting a cute rabbit for her. But
getting a rabbit,
but like it definitely speaks volumes to, you know, whenever I first heard about the Yakuza, it was like something that would strike fear into people's hearts, something that like, okay, you don't mess with these guys. If you look at them the wrong way, they're literally gonna kill you. Like they just kill people for no reason. And so yeah, definitely painting it in a different light. And like, of course, without being in the Yakuza ourselves, we'll never know if this is something realistic. But despite regardless of whether it's realistic or not, I don't think it matters for the concept of the show. I do think this is another matter of expression, another take on the way Yakuza exists in media, and so I have a really good appreciation for it. despite whether or not it's accurate. But you know, I'll never know if it's accurate because like who the fuck. Like,
okay, but also that latest episode though. Have you seen it, Khalil?
I haven't. I'm watching it after this.
Oh my gosh.
We're not gonna spoil what happens, but like just like they could have dropped this episode at any point in the season. Like legit.
We've tripped and stumbled into the wrong show, basically.
That's what's up. But yeah,
the thing about the show is Yaika's presence is like so good in this show.
Mm-hmm.
Like I think like you know we talked about like kid characters like and how like you know they've like gone up in quality like you know with things like Spy X Family. But I really like Yaika in this show because like she kind of like sees like the good in a lot of people, or like tries to see the good in a lot of people, and like that kind of perspective on something like Yakuza is like very like refreshing because like obviously she's part of like the Yakuza family, but even like though like the world like sees them all as like these like bloodthirsty like mafia fiends, like she just like tries to see the good in people like Kirishima and like that guy who like you know left the Yakuza family, and you know it's just like so heartwarming. Like this type of show.
I definitely agree. And like that guy that you're talking about that left the family, I think he's actually a super interesting a concept in a show like this too, because he's someone that left the Yakuza, and so like when they were doing the scene where they actually like showed the scene where he was saying he's leaving the family because his wife was pregnant with this kid, and so like very clearly like these characters have things that they value very highly, and it wasn't a matter of, you know, he didn't want to be a part of the family was something that was really, really important to him, but he found kind of like what matters most, and at the end of the day, like even the leader of the Yakuza was able to see that this is something that is really important to him and let him go. And so like that's also something on top of everything else that is like just really cool. That's from a side character, right? So that's I don't even know if we're ever gonna see this character again, but it was just really cool to see that even though he's not a part of the family, he has his own life and it has its own trajectory. And the little scene with his son was really funny, his interaction with Yaika. It's just like these guys are still pretty they can be out there sometimes. Some of these characters can still be pretty eccentric. It's just a matter of you got to get them in the right environment around the right people.
Yeah, for sure. The show's great. I love the show.
No, it's really good. This is like what I would classify, like if you're watching stuff weekly, like you gotta watch the show. You gotta watch the show. Like it's like I said, it's super valuable to have a show like this on your lineup, just because like
breaks pacing.
Yeah, if you're like us and you watch a lot of shows, like there's the good stuff and there's stuff that's not so great. But the thing is, like, if you watch a bunch of stuff that's not so great in a row, you might come out of it feeling not so great yourself. It might be really discouraging. But then you can just turn this on, and then your day will be good. Like, you can kind of forget about everything else that you just witnessed whenever you turn on a show like this. I think it's a really good time. That's what's up, bro.
All right, what's next?
Let's see. What else we got to talk about?
Yo, can we talk about Isekai Oji-san?
Yeah, sure.
yeah.
Sure. So like out of the bat, I'm sad because the episode got delayed. The next episode got delayed for 3 weeks, I think, which is really unfortunate.
Yeah.
This show it's really funny.
It's hilarious.
It's
hilarious.
It's actually just like it's a comedy, and so like the number one rule of comedy is be funny, and like it is absolutely funny. Like it is a very funny show.
I think it's picking an incredible time to exist, also because it's just like satirizing isekai, it's making fun of like the whole isekai thing.
The manga started in 2018, so the isekai wave was already like in full force. So I just get the impression that whoever wrote this show just got sick of it. He's like, you know what? Fuck it, I'm doing this.
Yeah, so
it evolved like from its inception to like this.
Bro,
it's like a genius way to go about it.
Every time, every isekai, like Why is it that the best isekai shows are parodies, bro? It always happens like this. It always happens like this, bro. This is insane.
Just like the concept of like, oh yeah, I'm not the one getting isekai. It's not even an isekai show. It's someone coming back from an isekai.
Yeah.
And they like keep all their powers, but like I think the funniest part about the premise is that the uncle who like got isekai'd is coming back from like a time where like he just like straight up is like immune to all the tropes of isekai because they don't exist yet.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like he is like the uncle is quite the character, bro. Like he really is. Like when this show first started, I was thinking it was gonna be he comes back from his isekai or whatever, and I thought that he was like actually like insane, and that like he thought he was in another world, but he wasn't, because he's in a coma, obviously. And he was gonna try to do the things that he did there, and it wasn't gonna work, and it was gonna be like him coping with having to live a normal life. Instead, it's not that at all. And he can do all the shit that he could over there in this, which I think is hilarious. And it has running gags like the whole Sega thing, which I think is really funny. And it also has like some parody of like current social condition as well, with like the episode where he turns into the elf girl and his like viewership like skyrockets and shit like that.
Was so
that
funny.
shit was so bro.
Mode,
when he said, bro, the camera's not even on the gameplay. The views are still like, bro, I was actually in stitches, bro. That shit was so funny.
The one comment they got that was like, someone get rid of the game console.
Right.
It was in the way.
It's actually really, really funny.
And like the side story of being like just like a love letter to Sega.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
yeah. It's like, bro, like what is going on?
I think one of the funniest dynamics is the low key, kind of low key, but they're pretty overt about it. Like the nephew, Takafumi, he like gets so frustrated at all of the missed opportunities that his uncle had while in the isekai to like find love and romance. But like the really ironic part is that he is like basically just as bad in real life. And I think like it's so funny. They even like kind of hint at it. Like he there's like a tiny moment of introspection where the nephew's like, maybe I'm more skeptical than my uncle. And it's just like it's just so funny. Like the hypocrisy is great. The setup is amazing.
They're like, you're watching the show and you're like, yeah, these guys are definitely related, bro. Like, what the fuck? These two. And another thing that's really funny to me is like they throughout most of the show, like the uncle, whenever he's like, just normally talking, it got like this key art is actually like, I think, really good because like the way that some of his facial expressions happen are really, really funny. Like he'll be looking kind of like the dude on the left, he's like smiling, but it's nothing too imposing. And then like he'll go into these scenes where he's looking like this dude on the right, and it's like, bro, what kind of sinister shit?
One ugly MF,
Yeah, like what the fuck is happening, bro? Like it's actually a really, really funny show so far. It's sad that it got delayed, for sure, but COVID happened.
The last thing I want to talk about is just like the animation and like the art style. It's very distinct, and it's like it's kind of like you could almost call it low effort in a way. Like it's definitely not like insanely high fidelity. They definitely are picking and choosing though when to make the show look cool. And I think like for a comedy, it's people talk about how you can get away with worse animation in a comedy because it's you don't need it for the content to be as impactful. But I think the way that this show like makes itself look so distinct is honestly like pretty endearing, and honestly like for me it's been pretty refreshing to just kind of look at.
Yeah, I could agree with that. I definitely like to have a bunch of different styles and flourishes on my plate for any given season, and like, I mean, honestly, there's some things that they do super, super well, like like animating some of the like the particle effects or some of the magic that happened and stuff like that. Like I think that stuff is really, really cool, especially considering that we're supposed to be in the real world. But this uncle is out here doing some crazy ass shit. Like he's really out here. And it feels like one of those shows where the cast is just like they're all crazy. They're
bonkers. They're freaking bonkers.
They're all, every last one of them is absolutely crazy, just crazy in different ways.
Prop.
This is definitely like an instance of like really like good character driven comedy in my opinion, because like, you know, obviously like the scenario is like kind of prevalent, like just the fact that like the uncle like came back from the isekai and that he's like kind of like getting like reaccustomed to like the actual real world, but like it's not like that. Like I don't like get a good sense of like, you know, what they would do in certain situations, you know, like like this uncle fella, like he's just gonna like do like the most like batshit insane thing that like, and he's gonna like think it's like completely normal. He's not even gonna like think twice about it. And like Takafumi like kind of like sees like that, like he like, you know, we kind of like see like his uncle like through his eyes, where like, yeah, he's like fucked up in the head, but you know, he's having a good time, so we're along for the ride as well. And yeah, I like, we were watching this yesterday, like me and Miguel, and like I think Miguel drew like a pretty like good comparison to like how to describe the show. So like, you know, like Kong Ming like was like last season. This is kind of like what Kong Ming like would be like if it like completely focused on the comedy aspect, I feel.
Okay.
Because like, you know, Kong Ming like tried to like balance between like comedy and like a music plot line and like actual like serious, like you have to like we're actually like trying to like be very serious about like this this part of the show, but this one is just like balls to the wall fun, you know.
Yeah,
and
agreed.
With like a similar like idea, like okay, this guy like came from a different world after 17 years, and like okay.
Yeah, no, definitely quite good so far. I'm really enjoying it. It's very enjoyable watch from week to week. Let's see, on the high end, what else is there to talk about?
Overlord 4.
Oh, no, absolutely not.
We can talk. Shadow's House is it is
it's going, bro.
Awesome.
I really like the series, man. I don't know. I don't know why I like the series so much. Like I really do though, but
I just appreciate when things are unique, you know?
Yeah, it is really like, I feel like I'm getting an experience that I've never gotten before when I watch the show.
Which is pretty hard to do at this point.
Yeah, that is there's something to be said about, you know, being able to bring something like that to the table. Once again, like I like I said, like there's a lot, like we'll never have all the questions answered. In a show like this, it feels like there's like always so many questions because the nature of the mystery behind, you know, the grandfather and kind of the overall intentions of the higher ranked shadows and whatnot as time goes on. But I do think that they're at least they are doing a good job of like answering some of the more important questions that we would have had from last season, like them introducing the concept of, you know, the shadows that emit the most soot are like most valuable and higher valued. We kind of learn about some of the star bearers and why they're in the positions that they are. We even get like some weird characters, like the twins are like really thought-provoking to me because like when they were introduced, you know, the one character asks like, why is there two of them? And then the response is they're both Bell. So like, I don't know what exactly that means. Like if it's one entity that has somehow been split into two, I don't know what is going on with that. And then like, you know, there's like the episodes with the scorches and like it's like a giant shit storm and they're trying to fix everything, and then there's like the whole coffee thing with the brainwashing that I think is like pretty interesting, and like, well, like what the fuck is this? Like what is going on here? Why are they, you know, kind of indoctrinating the living dolls in this way? It kind of makes me feel like they've dealt with some type of rebellion or something in the past, and I just don't know if we're, you know, eventually I hope to get these answers, but at least for the time being, I still think you know, presentation is still like pretty much what we expected. I've always enjoyed the aesthetic value of this series just in general. Like Like the crazy thing is like a character, the shadow characters are really interesting to me in particular because like I don't think I've ever seen this done in a show before, where like from the outside looking in, it might seem like it's lazy, right? It might seem like it's lazy to just like take away the defining facial features from a character, and you know, it's quite literally a silhouette, right? But this show kind of treats it as like kind of like a blank canvas in a way, where like since you cannot like it shows you the value of like when you look at someone in real life and you see their facial expressions, you can kind of make inferences on what they're thinking, how they're, you know, how they might go about certain objectives and whatnot. You don't have that with any of the shadow characters, and I think that contributes to the kind of the lurking sinister nature of like the house that we're in. Like we just really never know what these shadow characters are thinking, and that's really dangerous. That's really dangerous in a lot of ways, because at the end of the day, like they don't have to worry about putting on a fake face because you can't see what they're what they're looking like in the first place. And so I think that's definitely really cool.
I think that the design of like the shadow characters creates a very like interesting effect, like because like with the living dolls along with them, because like the best way I could describe this is like I've tried to like envision like Kate's like the way like Kate behaves and the way that she carries herself like with like a Mileko's face, and I haven't been able to do it because like they're so different.
I
such different characters, and like I've literally tried so hard to like, and like there's even like a scene like in the first season where like Miliko like puts on like Kate's outfit, and still like I still
it
couldn't
doesn't work.
It.
Yeah,
It's like really, like, it's a part of the show that I'm enjoying probably like the most is like how it handles its dynamic between like the doll and shadow pairs, because like most of them like are like this as well, like where they feel like completely different characters. Like John and Sean, like they're literally like John's a fucking goofball, and like Sean is just like this like very like composed, very grounded person. Like Louise is like very lively, and Lou is like very like soft spoken. Obviously, like Miliko and Kate, very very different, and you know it's like the one that you would go to if you're referencing the show.
Yeah, good.
I think about it with like Barbara all the time, because obviously Barbie looks like angry as hell all the time, but you know you can't really see Barbara, so it's kind of like I wonder if is she like angry as fuck too? It's kind of like wondering sometimes. They try to get creative sometimes with like the shadows in particular, because like you know they'll show like side angle shots, that way you can like see like their
profile,
like their mouth. Yeah, like their mouth like moving in a way, so like kind of like if they're smirking and stuff like that. John like with his mannerisms, because John's like a fucking goof. Yeah. So it's kind of like they just show him like being like silly, even though you can't see a face or you can't see anything. It's just kind of like they're still trying there. That's pretty dope.
I think
Barbie and Barbara is like one of the ones.
I think they're definitely stand out this season for sure as well, because we're even getting backstory on them, which is really interesting.
Also, same VAs. Other than
Kate and Miliko. I was actually going to speak on that. One of the things that's so impressive.
Yeah, other than Kate and Miliko.
Pretty much every VA has to do double duty, because these are two separate characters in a lot of cases. Like two completely different demeanors. They have different inflections whenever they speak, and everything like that. And so like almost every VA is doing double time except for Miliko and Kate. And so like that's just really cool. Some of these characters are not the same at all.
You know what's super funny? No, click on Belle. It's super funny. The Annulus entry. Down, bottom right. Belle.
Belle. Okay.
Click on one of
them. There's two of them.
Nice.
That's what's up, bro. That's
hilarious.
That's what's awesome. Up, bro. All right, man.
I actually want to point out, because you were saying like the shadows, it can be like kind of hard to tell what they're like thinking and feeling, but I actually almost feel like the effect of the shadows, because they are paired with the doll characters, it almost makes them like almost more expressive because of the contrast that you see between like the personalities of them and their pair. Like when there are like instances of like the really effective dolls matching the body language and like the gestures and mannerisms of like their shadow, you can tell that they're not the same character. You can feel that like they're not acting like the way that they would. And so I feel like in a way it's like it's almost like in spite of the fact that they're shadows, they are extremely well characterized despite not having a face. I think that almost makes it like even more impressive.
Season 1, I think it was, which one was the one that was being mean to Miliko in season 1? I can't remember if it was Rosemary or
it was Sarah and Mia's pair. And
yeah, I can't.
It was Sarah that was being mean, but like Mia was like just acting as like the face.
Yeah, I know, but and that was just like Emilio was just like could not handle that shit. He's like, why the fuck are you being an asshole?
Yeah. It's there's like man, like when you really take a step back and look at it, bro. There's so many characters in this show. There's so many characters in this show.
Yeah, like you can't call this show lazy because you're basically following every character. It definitely feels like you have 2x the number of characters as usual. But
yeah, it's pretty crazy. And even though like most of the time you'll find, you know, the characters pairing like together in the same settings, you know, the way they kind of interact with especially our main characters can be drastically different, depending on the situation. So it is definitely interesting. I still think it's definitely like. The same sense of wonderment that I got from the first series with like its world building and whatnot. I still have that here, and I think that's really what I was looking for in the first place. It's just a matter of like how much are they gonna give us? Like I don't know.
There's definitely a lot of depth to the house that they've built though, because I feel like we still need to learn so much, and they've only even shown the outside world like one time.
Yeah, and like
there's a facet to the show that like I'm not sure how much you guys have thought about, but Cloverworks has kind of like not a very good track record of handling sequel stuff. And if this one turns out to be like really good, this will be like their first like actually well handled like second season of something.
That's great.
Obviously,
I'm here for it.
Obviously, like Spy X Family Part 2 is coming in October.
Yeah.
And like we expect that to be good, but like when you think about like what Cloverworks has done, like Promised Neverland, they really botched.
Yeah.
Like follow up to like Wonder Egg was not very well received. And you know, that's if you just like look at those two, it's not a very good track record. But you know.
Yeah, that's true. I still think that this is like when we talk like if we were to do a power ranking of all the shows, maybe that would be actually be pretty funny to do.
Power ranking.
Like a power ranking off of like what we know so far. Like this is definitely still near the top for me. For sure. Like I definitely look forward to watching Shadow's House every week. Yeah, like I mean, like I said, we're still pretty early. Like the thing is, like we're still pretty early on into the season, so for a lot of these shows, we don't really know how they're gonna turn out. But you know, all we can do is really hope that that they finish well, right? Like we gotta kind of let them take the wheel at this point. And so let's talk really quick about the shows that not all of us are watching, because there are we've delegated some shows for some of us to kind of take the wheel and suffer through, so that all of us don't have to suffer through them. So we can
Bobby, this is
time. What, Bobby, if you want to start us off, which one do you want to start with?
I'm here. All right, so first I want to right there. Warao, how do you pronounce this? Arsnatoria?
Warao Arsnatoria. Yeah, Arsnatoria.
Are any of you guys watching this?
I am not.
All right.
This is a video game adaptation, bro.
This is the biggest like bait show I've ever seen in my life.
In what way?
In what way?
Yeah.
Like, okay, so you look at the key art and you're like, oh, this is like funny, cute girls doing cute things. Moe, there's like a magic school, right? But every once in a while, they talk about some crazy, weird stuff. And you're like, is this plot? Are they talking about plot? And it kind of confuses me because it never amounts to anything. The first, first episode, the main conflict in the whole episode is the main character, the girl at the bottom, cannot get a jar of jam open. That is like the whole, basically first 20 minutes is that. And you end up getting to a point where the show, literally this is what happens, cuts away and the word warning in English appears on screen in big red letters. And then for the next 2 minutes, you end up in some village where some guys are killing, there's tons of blood. The art style is completely different. The dudes are just there straight up murdering an entire village of guys. And you're like, well, what? And it just leaves you like that. And what happens next episode? Same thing happens. You're like, how is it possible that this show spends seemingly 20 plus minutes doing just cute girls doing cute things, like maybe a weird reference to like something strange like every once in a while, and then you just have a big warning. It's crazy. I don't understand like how this show is. It's the biggest bait show of all time. Every episode is baiting you. And you know how they bait you even harder? In like the third episode, the very first second is the warning scene.
That's
Now,
what's up.
all of that said, is it good? I don't know.
You're kind of you're along for the ride, bro. You're stuck in there, man.
Listen, all I can say is that like it's trying to be different.
Okay.
And it's succeeding at being different. But I just don't currently see where the value lies in just shocking you like this. Because at this point, you can't shock me again, right? Unless the whole episode is like a warning episode. But like, I don't know, like there's not enough substance so far in either side for me to really determine like, is this something that's like good or worthwhile? So like, I'm gonna keep watching it, but like, honestly, my hopes are neither high nor low. It's just, I'm just kind of in the void, floating around, hoping that there's something I can grab onto.
That's actually hilarious, bro. Like
that is a whole ass fish getting baited each and every week.
I just, oh man, that's actually funny. I'll talk about I think I'm the only one watching Engage Kiss. And I was actually kind of surprised. I guess I was half surprised that it's so high up on popularity. Like it's like really, it's like top 5. Even more popular than, you know, some of the shows that we know are quite good this season.
Well, this is like trending, so like this is just like stuff.
Actually, let me go with popularity. Where is it? Okay, so it's actually a little bit further down.
Slightly lower.
Yeah. Slightly lower. Still top 2 rows, but like I think the main thing is that like it's A1, and like they definitely like flex some of the like animation sequences and stuff. Like they definitely, you can tell like they're definitely like trying to prove something with some of the scenes that they do. Concept wise though, the main problem I have with the show is that I feel like the MC is like unlikable. Like I really don't like the MC, the guy. The female MC, Kisara, is like, I think some people will probably label her as like annoying or clingy, but like she has like backstory that like I think could potentially be interesting if they execute it the right way. But like the male MC is actually just a piece of shit, bro. Like he just, bro, like he literally like intentionally does not pay his bills and then forces other people to like pay for him to keep him going, and shit like that. It's really ugly. That being said, right, so this is actually a really weird thing. Whenever I first watched the show, I got really big vibes of like Tact, Tactopia Destiny, where like there's like an MC, and then there's, you know, the girl has like, she's a demon in this case. And so like a lot of the power that they have together is based on like the contract that they forged, like literally deal with the devil type shit that he signs to enable to use their power. And they have been like trickling some more backstory into it, so I definitely commend them for that. That being said, it's like I still can't tell if it's good. Like I can't, like the writing, the writer of the first 3 episodes was actually the dude who did the writing on White Album 2. And so like, yeah, so I was like, I saw that and I was like, oh, okay. But apparently the writer changes after the 3rd episode. And so like, I don't know if that's a good or bad thing.
Oh my.
Yeah, so yeah, I just really don't know what to expect out of this one. At the time being, it is very pretty though. It's like one of those shows that I think if you're an anime watcher just to enjoy like art and animation of things and just kind of the aesthetic value, then you'll probably have a lot of fun watching it. It is a very, very beautiful show in that regard. But other than that, it's just like, I don't think the narrative is going to be strong enough for me to really be compelled. But you know, I'm not like suffering watching it every week. which is more than you could say for every show this week, or for every show this season.
Shows are categorized as suffering or not suffering.
Yeah, so like it's been like suffering, right? Like what are we suffering watching, right? Like it's where's it at? I actually don't even know where it is. Is it this far down?
What are we looking for?
I was looking for the step brother.
Oh my god. Well,
this shit, bro.
I have chosen not to suffer through this.
Oh my god, bro. Callie, thank you for the raid, man. Yeah, so like this show, man, is like actually a chore to watch every week.
Oh my god.
And like it man, it's like the worst thing. Let me start the okay.
Good.
The number one thing that you could like the worst thing in anime to be, right? To me, and I think all of us pretty much align with this ideology, but the worst thing that you could be is uninteresting. And be boring. If your show is written poorly, it's bad, or whatever, right? That's like, so there has to be bad shows out there. But they could still be like at least not boring and like actually like doing something. This show, it falls in the boring category to me, where like there is like nothing compelling me to be involved with any of the things that they're presenting at all week to week. Like it is just, I don't know. There's nothing happening, and like whenever there is something trying to happen, it just feels really boring. Like I don't know. How do you feel about it, Bobby? Like you're watching it too, right?
it's like so it's pretty much all cringe comedy, which is turbo hit or miss. And it's like, if you've never seen a boob in your life, maybe there's some value here for you. But, like it's definitely extremely boring. It's not the worst thing I'm watching this season, but it's exactly as you said, in that it's just sucks when you're in that uncanny valley of like, you're so mediocre, you're just boring.
Yeah.
Because there are some shows that are atrociously bad, and there's like an ironic sense of humor you can derive from those, where it's like you're just laughing at how stupid it is. But like this show is it's cringe, it's boring, and it's just like not unique. There are definitely shows that are like this that exist. Like at least with a show like Domestic Girlfriend, right, which has a pretty similar premise.
Yeah.
You can laugh at Domestic Girlfriend. You can like be invested in how trashy it is.
Yeah.
This one is like on the border of like being pretty trashy, but it's not like owning it, So it's just kind of like in that weird like, oh, whatever, dude. Like it's like a will they, won't they, but like you don't want it to happen.
Yeah, like I mean, the best way I can put it is like when we watch shows week to week and there's bad stuff, we still talk about the bad stuff. And why we think maybe it's not so great or what it's trying to do. I don't think that we have actually had a discussion about this show at all since
there's nothing to talk about.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. There's no substance. There's nothing compelling me to want to go out and speak to my peer. And that's saying something, because we talk about everything we watch. We talk about like literally everything we watch, but this show we have not talked about at all. And that speaks volumes for it just being so
like I said, like I'm not watching the show anymore. I watched the first 3 episodes and said I was gonna make a judgment whether or not I was gonna drop it or not after that, and I did drop it. But like the way I would like describe like my stance on like these shows that are like extremely like unremarkable to the point of like I just don't have anything to say about it. It's just that like, like I've rated shows like poorly, obviously. Like I've seen a lot. Like obviously not everything that I watch is good.
Yep.
But for a show like this is something I can't even like finish. Like even really really bad stuff I like watch to the end just so I can like have like an informed opinion about it. Like I don't care if I have an informed opinion about this at all.
Yeah.
Like I actually don't care. Like I watched like episode 3 on like 2x speed, so it was literally like 10 minutes of my day to like consume this episode, and I still felt like it was a meaningless void in my day. I'm like, I actually wasted 10, and like I consume a lot of like media and content like daily, and I felt like it's so rare that I'm like, man, like I wasted like X amount of like time on this, and it's like this is literally 10 minutes of my day. 10 minutes is nothing compared to like what I do day to day.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, I felt so bad watching this because I'm like, man, I could have like spent time these 10 minutes doing literally anything else, enriching my life in even like the most subtle of ways. And I'm just like, okay.
Literally, like just sitting down, closing your eyes, and meditating was probably a better use of time than this.
Yeah. Like,
I just.
yeah.
Well, like you know, I mean, most of us are still continuing to suffer through it for the sake of.
I'm not strong enough, man.
Population is, but yeah, it is not super compelling in the slightest. So you know,
I've told Miguel, because he's like not here at the moment, that like if there's anything worth talking about in any of the future episodes of that show, then let me know. And he has reported this week that nothing to report. I'm like, okay, dismissed, soldier.
Yep. All right, Bobby, what's show us the gutter with the bottom of the barrel. Wow.
All right, I have two shows I want to bring up.
Okay.
The first one is gonna be the Isekai show, like Harem in Another World. I think is like is that the translated title? Harem in the Labyrinth of Another World. Yeah, this one.
Yeah.
So this one is like very bad, but in the way that it's like it's like almost offensively bad. So like the main character starts the show by kind of being like having the realization of, oh, this is like not just like a game isekai, because he's kind of self-aware, you know, he understands, oh, I'm getting isekai, this is video game mechanics, I think I can do this. But he like kills someone and he realizes, he comes to the realization, oh, this is like kind of real, like I'm experiencing like actual like, you know, whatever. But it gets even stupider because they take an idea like that, something where like maybe there's some nuance to his character. They introduce the idea of, hey, here's this big titty dog girl, she can be your slave. Do you want to have slave? And he's just like, oh. And so he spends the first couple episodes just doing stuff so he gets enough money so he can purchase this dog girl slave. And then he purchased the dog girl slave, and supposedly there's going to be more characters that like join his harem and whatever. And it's just kind of like, it's crazy, not just because it's like, just like, how can you talk about like this weird slavery stuff, but it's the fact that he starts by being like, oh, this is real, and then he still accepts the fact that he's gonna get this weird like dog girl slave. It's like, what? That's crazy.
Yeah.
He puts in a lot of effort to like do this, and I'm like, this is crazy. Like,
is it like black pill, like incel shit? Like, do you think, or is it just weird?
I wouldn't say it's like black pill incel shit. It just feels more like straight power fantasy.
Okay.
Like, he accepts the reality of this world. Like, he's accepting the reality of this world, and he's just choosing like, oh, but I can get this big titty dog girl. This is great. And like, that's just what he does.
That's tough.
It's just, yeah, it's just rough. Like I don't know what you know, this is one of those turbo censored shows too, absurdly ecchi.
Oh, they're mad about the people in the comments be mad about the censoring of this one.
This is that show that I was like really thinking of when the Crunchyroll comments were really in pain. They censor like a lot of words in the first episode too, because the slave trader is trying to explain to the guy what you can do with this girl, and it's bruh, I don't know what he said because I didn't watch the uncensored version, but like, come on, dude. Now the next show, I think, because that Isekai in Another World is like whatever. Main character, it's like, it's offensive, you know. It's just like, bro, are you kidding? Like, why are you doing this? The other show is Kinso no Vermeil or Vermeil.
Yeah, I knew we were gonna talk about Vermeil Gold, bro. I knew it,
dude. This show is crazy. How like actually poorly written the characters are. It's honestly hilarious. So like, basic premise is the kid in the middle, he's like trying to like pass a class where he like creates a summon, right? And he's basically failing, but it turns out because he has like weird funny mana that's like actually way too good for everything else, he summons a demon who is the girl on the left with the virgin killer sweater. And she basically like, she eats his mana by like kissing him. There's probably other methods to like extract the mana, but you know, they kiss, and she like gets his mana, which is apparently like amazing to her. She's like extremely overpowered, basically does everything for her. And the way that, I think the part that really stood out to me was the interaction she had with the character on the right. So everyone's shocked because most of the summons are like dragons or like they're animals or spirits or something not like human looking, but because she's a demon she has to hide it, so she pretends to be just some like human who is the summon, which is like also absurd, but you know, better than being a demon, I guess. The girl on the right is basically she's just a generic tsundere who's like super into the main character, and she hates the fact that there's this big busty lady who's like very provocative like around him all the time now. And so what she does is she challenges Vermeil, the demon lady, to a duel. Vermeil obviously wipes the floor with her, like no contest, and the main character is like, hey, listen, just be friends. And it's just like, when you see that line of just be friends, you know that the show is awful. There's like this beef between characters, and now the main character is just like, it's okay, guys, just be friends. And now they're trying to get along. They obviously can't. It's just like, it's just like, the show is all generic tropiness, and the value is all on the surface. Like, if you don't like what you see, then there's nothing for you here. Like, the characters are inhumanly badly written. It's like, it just doesn't even make sense. There's like negative development, basically.
I mean, bro, like we watched the PV for this show during the sampler, and I was like, I'm gonna get fucking demonetized on this PV even alone.
Thanks, anime.
Like, holy shit.
It's bad. It's bad. The main character
out there.
also, as you can imagine, he's just like one of those beta cuck MCs. He literally can't like do anything on his own. So that's you know, that's always nice.
Yeah,
to just have someone incompetent.
Bro, I'm mad at this character. I haven't seen the show, but I'm mad at this character because it's like this style reminds me of actually Marduk from Made in Abyss.
I see that.
Now I'm mad. now I'm mad.
Which of these two shows would you say is the worst of the season so far, Bobby, if you had to pick one?
So, like, alright, I think, clearly, this might be a hot take. I think if you compare them based on, like, general typical values of how I rate shows, I think Vermeil is worse. I think Vermeil is, like, at the moment, if it keeps on track, it's hitting, like a 3 out of 10, maybe like a 2. I think Isekai in Another World, I think value-wise, like, it's a better made show. I just think it's much more offensive. So I think people get their, like, they'll get their panties in a britch, like, watching Isekai in Another World. But I think, like, if you compare the values with, like, pure objectivity as close as you can get, I think Vermeil is probably the worst show.
That's kind of what, like, based on, you know, the mumblings of what people were saying this season. Well, at least amongst people that I actually value their opinions, they were saying that Vermeil was not not it, for lack of a better term.
If you're looking for bad shit this season and you're into that, you look no further.
Yeah, for sure.
If you like Kitty, there's they're there.
Oh, we didn't talk about Ruby. Man, yeah. We actually did it. We skipped over this earlier.
Back on track. I see.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, as someone who's caught up on like original Ruby and like is kind of like, I'm not gonna say I'm like the most familiar of like how the show has like been handled, but like I know like everything that's like happened, and like this, like from episode like 4 onwards, like you can like tell that this is like a complete like reimagining of like the Ruby universe. So the way I would like describe like how it's like handling the series is like it's a lot more like abstract, like character focused, because like they spend a lot of time like in this dream world that the new original character is able to like send people into. So like they send like Team Ruby, or like maybe just like one character, into somebody who's like corrupted, and they kind of like get to peer into like the inner workings of their minds and how they like see and view things. So like the most recent I guess like not the most recent episode now since like episode 5 came out today.
Yeah, literally just dropped.
Like Ruby like dives into like Weiss's mind because Weiss is corrupted by like this like nightmare. Kind of like she gets like very like veiny and thorny, like kind of like how if you watch like episode 3, like Jean was the same way.
Yeah. She's basically cursed, right? It's like
it's basically cursed, and Ruby gets to dive into Weiss's mind, and like it's an entire like world and like
a dream world type of thing.
Like this is where we really get the sense of like the Urobuchi like influence, in my opinion.
Yeah,
it's very Shaft.
100%.
It's this like really like bizarre scenario, but it's also like very like telling of like the characters and also like what the series like wants to say. And this is where I come from, where I'd say like this is probably like going to explore the characters a lot better than original Ruby. Because like Weiss's world is like very constructed based on like her like strict values of her family, and like this is like telling of like, you know, her starting point, because like obviously like everything that Weiss has gotten in the original series is like not present here at the very beginning of this new reimagining, and so like it's very like factory oriented, very like she's like the proper like heiress to like the Schnee family, and like she is like responsible for like how their like production is going. It's like very like industrial, and she also like sees all of the characters that she's met in the series, like team like Juniper, and also like her own team, like Team Ruby, as like pretty like primitive beings. Like she sees them as like little like more than like animals.
Yeah, literally, like you can definitely tell like the Shaft Urobuchi like duo is working on this. Like, just to like be a little more specific, like there are posters of her father everywhere, and they all have eyes that move. Like they look at like Ruby as she's like walking down like hallways and stuff. And there's like, Jeffrey mentioned like everything's industrial. Like all of the inhabitants of this world that are like not real people, like in the actual like universe, are basically just robots. Like that look like people. They're like all just like they look like toys almost. It's kind of like, it's super trippy. It's not like the normal Ruby at all, which is a lot more like kind of like a school life, like there's like the battle academy like type of thing, right? This is like a completely different direction. It's a lot more abstract. It's a lot more, and so it's a really interesting kind of take on like an already established series, because it's just going in a completely different direction. It's like focusing a lot more internally than kind of like on their world.
Yeah, I didn't watch original Ruby, but anything Shaft is auto watch for me, and so like when the season started, or before I had watched anything, I was like, okay, like, you know, I don't really know what I'm getting myself into in terms of like, you know, the actual world of Ruby itself, because I hadn't watched the original series. But I was wondering, like, after the first few episodes, like nothing really felt like Gen yet. But then like the Weiss thing definitely is him. Like I was like, wait a second. I was like, okay, this feels familiar.
We got these dream catchers. We're going into like the not real world anymore.
I'm like, oh, okay. So I guess that's where his influence definitely is getting demonstrated. I was actually.
I think this series like acts as like a very like necessary like complement to like the original, because like not to diss on the original in any way, but like what you see is kind of what you get. Like I don't think it's like extremely deep, but it is a very like fun series to like watch and consume and like discuss with like your friends. It was definitely like that when like I first like watched it in college. Like I watched it with like you guys, like when we went to like Miguel's place, and I'm like, this is a fun series, and a lot of like twists and turns like narratively, but like it was never really like that sense that like, man, this series was like exploring these characters any more than like what we were just like straight up like shown or told, because like there's a lot of like verbal exposition that goes into original Ruby, and like this is like, if you are like the type that like wants to like visually like absorb things without like being like just straight up like told, then like this is definitely like for you, without like, you know, messing with like the characters anyway, because I think like these characters are like pretty like consistent to like how I like thought they were in the original series, is that they're explored in a different way, and I appreciate that. So like, there's no telling like how far it will go or how far it will like deviate from what we know, but we'll be here for it. It's like this is like a perfect like example of like a reimagining of a story, because like there are some similarities, but like the way it goes about it is like completely different.
Yeah, that's cool. That's actually really cool. Yeah, no, it definitely, like, some of the sequences, like, while I'm watching, I'm like, yeah.
For sure.
I know what they're trying to do. Are any of you watching any of the like super popular stuff this season? Like, no, all the stuff that it's actually really funny because when people talk about anime, we're kind of the people that they would label as elitist, even though we're not. But like, if you go and you look at like popularity for a given season, you notice that like most of the stuff that we've touted is like really, really strong stuff. It's like in the second row, third row, like some of it, like right. The first row, like almost, like I think very few of us are watching any of these. I think is anyone watching?
We're watching Devil as a part-timer.
Okay.
So
I'm watching 3 of the 4 or 3 of the 5, and Rent a Girlfriend. I've read the manga for, so I
okay. So so no one's watching Overlord. Is that the one that no one's watching? Okay. Yeah, I don't. I think Overlord is like power fantasy, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's power fantasy. I think it's kind of like supposed to be like D&D, but like it's just an anime now.
Okay.
Which
all right.
It wasn't for me when I tried to get into it. It was a little like too much of only world building from what I felt, but
Okay. I see. How are you guys feeling about Part-Timer? For those of you that are watching,
it's weird for me, like watching it, because this sequel is 9 years after the first season, and they've changed studios.
Okay.
And so like, I'm kind of getting back into the groove of it, and where like I kind of remember, but like I don't know, like I watched this show literally like almost a decade ago, and so like, it's really strange just kind of hopping back in. But I mean, it's so far it seems like okay. It's just like the cast that I knew from before doing more things with the new like child baby character. It kind of feels a little bit forced, the setup, but I mean, I don't know. I mean, I like the original show, so it's not like I hate it. It's just I'm not really. It's just weird coming back to it like after all this time.
I think it's fine. Like I wasn't like in all honesty, I wasn't like too big of an advocate of the original series. I thought it was like average or like slightly above average, and like this is kind of like more of that. And I'm in like kind of like a weird like middle area where like I know like a lot of people like enjoy this series, and like that's fine. I understand like why they enjoy it, and like it's not boring. Like I don't think it's boring. Like I know Miguel, he's not here right now, but like he thinks it's like pretty boring. And, but comedy, it's like the comedy is subjective, really, with this show. If you enjoy like the character dynamics, I think like getting like more is just like better in that regard. But if you're like here for like I don't know, like the premise of like, man, like what's this guy like gonna do like in this world, and like has he like given up on ever going back to like the fantasy world or something, then I don't think you're gonna get much here. But it's like kind of like what you came for the show for originally, whether or not you're going to enjoy this sequel.
Okay. Seems like it's pretty middle of the road, opinion wise.
Yeah, and it's funny because it's definitely like the most popular thing this season.
Yeah.
I think on the virtue, because like we've known the sequel is going to be like happening for a long time, and now it's just happening now. So
true. Anyone watching Classroom?
I'm watching
Bobby.
Yeah.
Bobby's watching Classroom.
I've seen. So the first season is like, it's like above average. It's like all right. I think that it's you could almost say that this show is a little bit black-pilled, but I think a more appropriate description would be that this show is like 5-head pretentious a little bit.
Oh, okay.
So the characters are supposed to be extremely intelligent, right? And that's like, I think a lot of shows fall into like this kind of issue where sometimes the characters are a little too smart for the author. It gets a little... they kind of say things that are genuinely like intelligent sometimes, and then other times I'm like, you're kind of missing the mark here with this. Like sometimes the strategies that go at play, like in one of the more recent episodes, right? In one of the more recent episodes, there's like this case of like this girl and like she's getting bullied, right? And so I think, and like the main character's like, yeah, this is like a case of the Milgram experiment where like some girl is not trying to like be mean, but she gets coerced into being a bully toward like this one girl.
Mm-hmm.
And she like it's like she gets like this weird sadistic pleasure out of it. And I'm like, okay, that's not 100% what the Milgram experiment is supposed to be like. But I guess if you want to be like anime exaggerating, I guess maybe she was a latent sadist the whole time. I don't know. But yeah, like sometimes I feel like this series just feels like a flex for the author to show off how smart and encyclopedic like he is as a person. I don't want to like make that judgment, but that's kind of how it feels sometimes, because I feel like the characters are not bad. Like there's development, but it's not like I get it's gonna be a really abstract way to describe it, but it feels like the development of the characters is very rigid. It's not like a soft like gradient of like, oh, this is organic growth by the characters. A lot of the situations feel very forced, and a lot of the characterization feels extremely like one note, two-dimensional, right? And so I think that there are cool aspects about this show, because as pretentious as it is, there are like pretty like cool moments of genius that also occur, but the setup is very unelegant, I think, at times also. So I mean, there's some good and there's some bad. I think it's enjoyable. I think like the characters are like, I guess like for what they're worth, attractive. Like the main character, if you like power fantasy, the main character is basically just much smarter than everyone else. He's like he's like hextuple head, like my brain is massive. I'm 10 steps ahead all the time. So I mean, if you're into that, like this is like not bad. I think it's above average. I just think that there are some pretty glaring flaws that it suffers from sometimes too.
I see. Yeah, I like whenever I see a show like that, like I haven't watched it obviously, but like in my mind, I'm like, okay, I completely understand why this is popular. Like I get it. People love shit like this. Like people really do love shit like this. Oh yeah, you said you were reading this, right? You weren't watching it. I don't think any of us are suffering through this, but
I saw like the first episode, sort of. I like kind of skipped around. I mean, it's just more Rent-A-Girlfriend.
Yeah, it's just
it's very trashy.
I actually normally would like continue something that I've already just like seen, but like with this one, like because like Dylan and Bobby are like reading it, like they tell me that like this season there's like a very good chance that they're not even like they're gonna get to like parts that like really like got a reaction out of people from the manga, and I'm like, okay, I'm kind of like not here for that. If it turned into a train wreck like faster, then maybe, but like at this point it just seems like this is gonna be like kind of a slog.
Yeah, I feel that.
Yeah.
One show that I don't think any of us are watching, but I do know a decent amount of people are watching is this show. I don't know what the deal is with this show at all.
Kagi
but
too.
Sometimes I see like those popularity charts, and like this one is like usually in the top 10 for popularity for the season, so I don't know what the deal is with that, but it definitely felt like it was Takagi too.
It is what it is. Like I think people like, honestly, like I don't think there's anybody who is like watching this show who like doesn't know like, you know, the author's like origins or like what actually like put him on the map, you know. Is like, you know, if you liked Takagi, then you might like this, you know. It's kind of like that simple.
Hey, really, this show just put me off because she just looks way too young, bro. Honestly, like this, I don't know. She looks like a fucking grade school student, and this dude is over here. I don't know.
It'd be like that.
Yeah, I don't fuck with that. But what the probably last thing we want to talk about are these
stuff.
They showed the stuff that we continued from last season. So Well, actually, you know what? We'll do this one last, since I guess they'll try to give Miguel some time to come back. I don't know if he's gonna be back.
Yeah, he had something that he said it came up, and I don't know. He said he was gonna be back in a second, but it's definitely been multiple seconds.
Yeah, it's been a while since he left. But
Render
so
let's spend some time Render. Oh my god,
Render is fucking crazy, bro.
This show is fucking insane, and I'm here for it, bro.
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
There's been like this like perfect like seamless transition from it's you can see it in the openings too, to be honest. Like before it was a lot more like hometown mystery, and now the scale is like ramping up. There's like huge fights going on, and honestly the way that they've set it up, the transition has been pretty seamless for me. It's crazy like how deep this like hole goes, and I'm here for it. Like it seems like everything's not getting resolved quite yet, but we're getting there, and it's pretty satisfying.
Yeah,
I don't think that there's a single episode in like the second half that missed at all. Like every episode,
it's doing really
every
well
single
so far,
week,
yeah.
I just have to like brace myself for what's gonna happen, because I just know that the series is like not gonna hold back.
Yeah, like
in the second half.
This is like a perfect example of a show that needs to be like it's 25 episodes. It needs to be 25 episodes. Like,
yeah, absolutely.
This is such a this is like such a complex concept that they're putting out, and it feels like they're really trying to cover everything so that they don't leave any questions unanswered. And like there's no way that you could do this show in 12 or 13 episodes. Would not be possible. It just would not work at all. So I'm very thankful that of course it got a full 25, and yeah, the second half has been like, there was definitely like kind of like a paradigm shift with the mid-season and like there was like a tone shift, and like now shit is really just crazy all the way through. It's just like there's just so many things happening, and it's also like stuff that's really like thought-provoking. I still find myself like still having a lot of questions and still really being interested in like where are we going next with all this, because it's a lot. It really is just a lot.
Yeah, something I really want to like praise the show for is like Shinpei is actually like top tier like MC, like for real. Like he's like such a refreshing like main character, because like, you know, I think a lot of the philosophy of a lot of like shows is that like, okay, we have to like have this character at like a starting point. Like maybe he's like not like the best character, but like he'll like grow over time. This guy is actually just like so smart and like so rational, but like not in like a egotistical way.
Yeah.
He actually just like thinks things through, and like he's able to like vocalize like what he's like thinking to other people, and I'm just like, this guy is like, we need more character or main characters like him, because like he's just been like such a good like part of the show, and like why I think it's like so good. Because I don't feel like I'm like getting like baited into information, or that like, oh, like things are just happening because it's like convenient for like the particular like scenario. I just think like the characters are just like very smart, and like they actually like handle things like what's in front of them with like a degree of like logic that, you know, I hopefully would like think through like myself. Like I think I'm a very like rational and sensible human being, and I just like resonate with like that a lot more than I would if like a character was like just like hyper fixated on like the craziness of it all. Like, oh man.
Yeah, so like the one thing that I'd like to talk about is like this show demonstrates something that I think is really, really important when you're establishing when we're talking about narratives and how you write. When you establish an antagonist and a protagonist, there's a series of like checks and balances that I think are really, really important to make something compelling. And so where a lot of shows fall flat is that they'll introduce the protagonist, and like we understand that from the jump, like from the very early onset, that the protagonist is kind of just like they're just kind of better than the antagonist. Like they're just outthinking them, they're outsmarting them, they sometimes are on like moral high ground, stuff like that. This show doesn't feel like that. It feels like the same level of like logic and everything that Shinpei is going about things. The opposition is also taking those same steps, and they're also like living, breathing, like developing characters that every time you think that you have something solved, they pull something unexpected, because they're also like thinking about new ways to approach problems and whatnot. So like Yeah, especially like I said, the turning point episode where he finds out that, you know, Heine can utilize the same power that he can. It's like, yeah, so they were thinking about ways to subvert this power and beat this power as well. And so like I think that's really something that I appreciate, and it contributes a lot to why I think I'm so into it. Like I'm really like this show is so good. Yeah. I'm really enjoying it.
The rules that the show has like set up for itself have been like utilized like to the maximum, in my opinion, because like it's so often that like shows that like involve time travel especially just like feel like they're making up rules like as they go along, and like as they like become like convenient to have, and like to a degree like we get like drip fed like the rules like as they like are relevant to like especially like a lot about like the intricacies of like the shadows, and copying. But like they create like such like cool like scenarios. So like one thing, like just as an example, like so like Uchiyo is like a shadow, and like she can like copy like physically like copy things like guns and weapons and anything that like they think that they would need multiple of. But like those things like have their own limitations. So like say like the original like gets destroyed or something, then like the copy would like become like the new original or something. And also like anything that is like multiple parts, like if it gets like with it outside of a certain distance of the thing that it was attached to, then it just disperses. So like things like guns, like you have like literally like a radius that you can shoot at. Just as like an example, and like the show is like littered with like all like these rules that like they've like set up for themselves, but it's like they've been like actually like utilized, you know. And it's just so cool. Like I just think back to like the episode like where they actually like confront like Shide and like Shadow Mio and like all the other shadows that like came with them, and like this is like just like the showdown, and like it's like a culmination of everything that they've like learned up to this point, and it was extremely like climactic. Not that we've like reached, I think that we've reached the climax of this series, but like, you know, I felt like this was like a big step forward for like what they were trying to do.
For sure.
And I'm like, bro.
I think like the thing that you're talking about with like the copying and whatnot, like that type of thing is like super cool, especially because I think it's really strong thematically as well. Like when they talked about the you know, guns only being to shoot this far because the copy can only be within a certain radius of the original, like to me that is something really strong thematically, because I mean we're talking about shadows here, right? Shadows are attached to you. Without you, they cannot exist. And so like that makes sense. That makes perfect sense that the original has to be within certain, you know, within a certain distance of the original in order for it to like be functioning and whatnot. And stuff like that is like that's where you really get people into it, right? Like that's the immersion. Like yeah, I'm here for it. Give me more. No, that shit was dope.
Yeah, this show is really good about like not like retconning anything weird or like adding things that don't seem like they belong. Like the immersion, like you just said, has been really strong for me. Like I don't even like, there's literally no questioning for me when things happen on screen. I'm just like, yep. And then it's just, I'm like, yeah, this is what it's supposed to be like. I don't have to question anything. Like I just have faith. Like it's basically established an ethos with me where I'm like, yeah, I have faith that like what's happening like makes sense.
Yeah, and I want to give a super special shout out to what's this character's name? I don't know if they have him on the page, but the fucking bro, he is so sick. He is actually so sick. That character, like I didn't know what, like when he got introduced, it was kind of like, whoa, like holy shit, like what the fuck is happening here? And like, you know, from the outside looking in, it might just look like he is like just a muscle, like kind of the conduit by which Heine enacts like her will, like he kind of does her bidding and does the heavy lifting. But this character is like actually like really a big problem, because he's really smart as well. And like he is finding ridiculously crafty ways to hinder the protagonist. Like this shit is actually out of control. I'm like, what the fuck is happening?
Oh my god, the scene where he fucked up like the house battle. I'm just like, bro, what?
Yeah,
like,
I'm like, oh.
That episode and that scene, like I had a feeling that something was gonna go wrong, because like, you know, like Shinpei like has already explained everything to everybody involved, and like they're very cocky that they're going to be able to like win this part of the loop. and then I'm like, no, something's gonna fuck it up. And then Hizuru gets like shot out of the window. I'm like, oh shit! And then it just comes up with the sledgehammer and just like bashes her face. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
What?
He's
Oh
super
my
sick.
God.
Like I love it when the two entities are like on equal ground. I love that like I said, the protagonist force and the antagonist force both seems like their abilities are pretty equal. You know, they all have their own strengths and weaknesses and abilities, but like it really is like two equal forces trying to outsmart each other in the end. And that shit is crazy. Like when they did this scene where she fucking neutralized the atoms in the room to make a vacuum, I was like, all right, bro.
God.
This is fucking crazy, bro. This is insanity.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, render definitely like if I were to incorporate some of the previous, you know, because obviously these started in spring, like Render is probably the show I like look forward to watching, probably second most right now, honestly. I think it's probably the second favorite thing that I'm watching at the moment. It's pretty difficult, like there's a lot of really good shit airing right now, but like Summertime Render just feels like a show that is really like striking my personal taste. Like I really like the way it is and the way that it's atmospheric and its direction and everything. So yeah, I don't know, I'm just really I'm really here for it. Like and based on what I've seen, I have a lot of confidence that it's gonna end pretty strongly, because I mean it's been 16 episodes.
There's like 8 episodes left.
Yeah, I'm like at this point, yeah.
It almost seems too good to be true that like a series, like, because like I think the series is like extremely like well
returned.
Oh.
Hello.
Some shit. So my garage, like some shit like fell apart there. I don't know where I had to go deal with that.
Oh my god.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
Well, where I'm building a gym in my garage, so like we're getting rid of a bunch of garbage, but like in the process of getting rid of stuff, there was not enough support for some of the shit that was still there, and it just collapsed. I'm like, what the fuck just happened?
Well, welcome back. We just got done talking about Summertime Render, and we're gonna like talk about more of the continuing stuff from like last season.
Yeah.
So perfect timing. You could talk about Awashi.
Yeah. So we can talk about Awashi next. I don't know how many times I have to click back. Down here.
Where are you at?
There you go. So So how you feeling about Awashi now, Miguel? We know you're an enthusiast, bro.
I mean, it's still good, but like, so the second half, it's so this started with like when the OP changed too. It like felt like a tonal shift was gonna begin in the show, because like it's hella different. Like the first opening was just like sports anime opening, like 101. And then like we went into like this new thing where it just kind of like felt like the journey was like truly gonna begin, like the actual like getting better, all this stuff. I love how they're like incorporating all the new not new side characters, but like some of the side characters getting a little bit more time. Like the center back that plays with them, he just kind of like, he doesn't talk too much. The red pompadour guy. Yeah. It's like he doesn't talk too much, but every time he says something, it's like pretty insightful. So it's like this whole thing of like sometimes like good managers or good coaches, like or good leaders, like I'm sure this probably relates in like band and stuff too. That like they can just say like this one little thing and it just kind of clicks for you. And like that like exists in this show where like Aoi is like kind of like a blank slate a little bit. Like he doesn't have all the information. Like he doesn't know everything about competitive soccer. And like people just say something that like feels so simple. But like it's just like one sentence and it's kind of like all clicks for him. It's like, oh shit, I should know where everyone on the field's at.
That might be something that is important. What the fuck? No,
it's wait, what does it matter if like this guy's here? But like this space is the important part. Let me go there. You know, whatever. I don't know.
There's definitely a lot of intentionality and care into like the setups with the characters and like their interactions and relationships with each other. Like I think recently there's been a couple points where there were like characters from the very beginning of the show who just got reintroduced as like the new rivals for like the next game that's coming up.
That was really cool. I actually think that's super cool.
I think it's awesome that like there's like not only were there friends that came up with them, but the people that were left behind, you know, they are still relevant to some degree. Because at first I was thinking it's kind of a waste that like you have these characters who look like they're designed to be more than just background.
They had character designs, like real ones.
And then just throw them away later. But they didn't throw them away later. They're like being reused as like something really cool. So I'm like, oh, that's really sick.
It was really cool with the center forward, Yoshitsune, the guy who's like is on the A team, but since he's recovering from injury, they're like, all right, yo, let's get you up to speed on the B team. How like he just had like that. Oh wait, did you watch the latest episode, Khalil?
No, I'm watching it after this. Yeah, I've
been
watching all my latest episodes. I'm watching after this.
Oh shit. Okay, well basically like the conversation, like to not go too big into it, was just kind of like you don't need to be like me. It's like you have like a path that you're following that's like pretty cool already. It's like not every player is created equal.
Yeah.
Like or not every player is the same. Like you're left back, I'm a center forward. Yeah, you're left back, I'm a center forward. It's like you seem to be like a potential like good playmaker, and I'm the guy you link up to. Like you don't need to be me. Like he didn't say all these words explicitly, but that was like kind of the idea.
I think like just to keep it general, like his like position as a player who's like more than just like a B team player being there, his perspective is extremely valuable. It's extremely valuable perspective, and I think it like really contrasts with the rest of the team because he's able to recognize things that other people on that team can't. And I'm not just talking about like the soccer aspect, but like understanding like things about the other people that are on the team that like they wouldn't understand because they're still like they haven't been at like that like high level of like competitive soccer either. Like he recognizes things about like Aoi and stuff that like I think are really important for his character.
He like kind of filled. I mean, I don't think he's gonna be around very often because it's just kind of like a getting back up to speed game. But it's cool if they use someone like him. And then like he kind of filled this gap of like Asari is gone, not gone, but he's on the A team now. Like or so it's kind of like it's like oh like this is like different perspective, like someone who's a little bit older, but like kind of giving insight is like all right, you still got a lot to learn, blah blah. A little bit less of a douchebag way about it because Asari's kind of a dick, but it's fine.
Yeah, I think the thing. Oh, go ahead.
No, you're good.
Oh, okay. I think the thing that I appreciate the most about this show is like how it like really balances like moments that like focus like only like on soccer and also like the more personal introspective moments from the characters. Like like in one of the more recent episodes, like when Aoi was like really like conflicted with the idea of like becoming like a fullback, it was really really a shock to him, and like the show did a really great job at like depicting like how like stressed or like how like crushed he was like when he found out this news, and how like the process of like just slowly like picking yourself up and realizing that like this is like what I have to do in order to like get better and enjoy soccer in like a new way. And I think it was a very like great and well crafted like character moment. And there are also like little things in the episodes as well, because like the most recent episode, like when they reintroduce the characters who like didn't make the tryouts, they're on like another team, which are like now like the rival team. After like they're all done talking, like Aoi's like teammates kind of like just like casually walk back into the building, whereas Aoi like finds like a random can on the street and like starts doing like juggle practice with it, like kind of just to signify that like he's like in a different headspace from everybody else. Like right now, like he's like really like hyper focused on like not squandering like this opportunity that he has in like this upcoming game. And also like his everything he learns like playing in actual games, like the development is like not linear, because like he will like have like these moments of realization where like like everything makes sense now, like I know where I need to be, I know like what my purpose is, like being in this position, and then like immediately after a good play he'll like mess up, like, and like that's like extremely like human to me, because because like people like think that like, oh, like if somebody like makes a mistake then it's like a failure of like character or something, or like, oh, it's like reverse like development. But like these characters are supposed to like represent humans. You're not going to do something perfectly every single time. Like there are going to be like gaps in your experience and your knowledge that you're just going to have to like gradually like learn about and get used to just from experience, and you're not going to be able to do that every single time. Like it's like that's how like teams like end up winning games, because they play off of like the mistakes of the other team, or they outsmart the other team. And you're not always going to be on the side that wins, and that's an important like aspect of sports that I think this show gets really well.
Yeah, it's like improving at anything is a series of slopes and plateaus, And so like it really feels like that is kind of Aoi's experience as he's going along in this show. Like he makes a breakthrough, things seem like they're like going great, and then there's another obstacle in the way. So now we have to think about how we're gonna get around this, and you know, in some ways he's helped out by you know, his environment, the people around him. You know, he's able to pick up some things through osmosis and just, you know, being a good teammate, but he's also doing a decent amount of like solo development as well, where like for example the episode where he was talking about, you know, I really don't want to be a back, right? He that was like something that was really big for him. Like he had been fixated on being an extremely strong forward the entire time and scoring as much as possible, but even though he recognizes that he doesn't really want to be a back because he doesn't feel like it's the right role for him, he still doesn't want to become a detriment to his team, and so he puts up with it and gives it his best shot despite. And I think that is like a really good character moment for him after kind of getting his world flipped upside down and being told that he's not going to be playing a forward anymore.
Those are definitely my favorite episodes of the show, wherever they just like that's like the central like theme of the episode is like it's just like him and like focusing on like how he's like handling this like really like shocking news. I feel like the most like keeping it 100, like I don't feel connected to Aoi like 100% of the time, just because like I'm not like super into sports. But like in these moments where like he's like really like reflecting on himself and like where he has to go, is when I really feel connected to the character. And you know, it just goes to show that there are many like avenues that you can take to enjoy the show. It's not just like one track like all about like soccer. There's like self-improvement. There's like accepting that you have to change as a person if you want to achieve your goals. Like how much is that worth it? Like how much do you want to change yourself? It's just so nice in a lot of different ways, you know?
Yeah, we really got lucky. We got lucky this season that the Summertime Render and Awashi are like the two main continuing shows that I think most of us are paying attention to. And we got really fortunate that both of them had really strong transitions into their second halves.
For sure. They both went crazy. Dude, once the second half started for both of them, they were just like, especially Summertime Reading was just like trying to one up everything. It was like they were going ham.
Like I have a lot of appreciation for the fact that, you know, they seem to be performing well into their second halves, because, you know, there's always the chance that when a show goes for very long that it experiences some dips in quality, but I haven't really got that from either of them yet. Can't really complain. Was there any other show that continued?
A couple of Cucks.
I guess Cucks is continuing.
Right. Oh god, right. I forgot. Okay, yeah, go ahead and talk about Cucks, man.
This show is like bad but fun to watch. Like this is the type of show that like I honestly like I wouldn't be watching this show if like I wasn't watching with like Miguel every week. It's just like that type of show where like I feel like by myself like the content of the show is like not like extremely like fascinating, but like just like the idea of like the way the show like handles like the harem like formula is just like really funny.
It's silly.
It's so silly. Like every like girl like has like an invisible progress bar like always hovering over them, and it was like, man, like who's gonna make progress in this episode and like what stupid way, and like Jesus, like I don't know, like Miguel, do you want to like add
they'll
anything?
like so like with the girls like progress bar that we're kind of talking about, it'll just like kind of breakneck with it, so it'll like go like really hard for like Naotoyama's character for a little bit, and then like it's like boom, next episode she's done, nothing happens, boom, nothing, and then we're going on to like the sister or the other main girl. It's just kind of like, and they just kind of like go like, all right, here, you're gonna go really hard for a little bit, you're gonna get a lot of like an episode or two, and then you'll just like breakneck and move to someone else. And there was like this really stupid moment where the dad went to the son, and he's like, who you're thinking of right now, that's gonna be the girl you're whatever, like that's gonna be the girl you're gonna end up with. They somehow think of all three girls. It's like, oh my god. Cringe,
bro. Like,
it's a disaster, but it's fun. Like it could be worse. But if it got any worse, it would be annoying.
The biggest like intrigue of this show is that like, man, like, are we like gonna like go chaos route, or are we just gonna go like where we think we're going? Like, honestly, like, you know, without like, we're not reading ahead in the manga or anything, but like, we really like don't know like what this show is like gonna end up like in terms of like who he gets with, or if it's just gonna be like a disaster. And that's like the real reason we're watching it, is like we want to see it like crash and burn in some spectacular way.
It's really funny how hard they commit to the bit, because like there's a lot of like rom-com harems where there's a clear lead for one character and everything else just feels like straight copium. But in like this harem in particular, it's like, yeah, there is the main girl, and like it does kind of feel like copium, but they do a really good job at selling you the cope, bro. They do a real good job at selling you the cope. Like there's like scenes where like in any other rom-com, like it's like, oh, imagine the girl that like is in your heart, you know, and there's like a clear image, and like the main character's in denial. But in this show, it's just like, ooh, I thought of all of them.
Jesus Christ.
Oh yeah, that's a couple of cucks in a nutshell. And fun to watch.
It's crazy that it got 2 cores. That's just the I don't know.
I like, damn it.
How did we get here?
You know how many good shows never get second cores, but
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It just be like that.
And this was like from the very beginning. They're like, "Yo, you're getting 24 episodes here." It's like, what?
And we're starting late.
There was I think there were 2 shows that haven't started yet that I want to speak about. That was one of them. Well, okay, Cyberpunk obviously haven't started. There was one that just I got a notif about. Oh yeah, this apparently just started. The Kamen Rider.
Oh, the Kamen Rider thing.
Yeah, the Kamen Rider thing. I'm not sure. Like, are you think this is something we're gonna check out, or what do you guys? How you guys feel?
I'm not particularly interested in it.
I feel that.
So
I'm not sure if I want to take the plunge. Not really sure.
Is there like a trailer? Like
Yeah, there's a PV.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, we watched it like in the sampler.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha.
So like it's there, but I just wasn't sure. Like Daisuke Ono's in it, so I'm like, maybe, but then I don't know how relevant he's gonna be, so I have no idea.
I might give it a watch, because stuff like this, I think they're saying it's like for the 50th anniversary. Love letter shows like this is what I'm assuming that this will be. Is like it's like a love letter show.
Yeah, the reason I was willing to like potentially give it a chance is because the last love letter show I watched was quite good with Megalobox. And so like I was like, if that carries the same amount of care and quality that show did, then like, yeah, this could be worth watching. But I have no idea if that's gonna be case or not, you know, like moving forward. So yeah, I'm kind of.
Do we want to talk about any of like the idol shows this season?
Oh yeah, we could do quick idol rundown.
Uncharacteristic amount of like idols content this season. I don't understand why, but like there are like 5 idol shows.
Oh shit!
Okay, well, so this is Extreme Hearts. A quick refresher. This is likely going to like turn into a multimedia thing. It says it's original right now, but there's like no chance that this doesn't get like mobile game shit later. It is the latest entry in Japan injects idols into everything. Literally every sports edition. Like it was so funny. Like the first episode of this series was like just tried to hammer you on the head with like melodrama. Like, so like the main character Hiyori is like an up and coming like musician. Like she had like an agency like contract, but then it got terminated because she wasn't seeing results or any traction. And apparently the only way to get good publicity as an up and coming artist is to join the Hypersports tournament for some reason, because then you get to perform as an idol, which, you know, however these two things like connect with each other is something that Japan knows better than any other culture in the world. But speaking on like the show itself, it is very like something that I have like seen before, because like I watched like Pura Ore or like Pride of Orange, which is basically like the same execution where like these female casts like just like do sports with like not the intention of like, I guess this is kind of like a reverse because like the intention is like to become idols, and like the means of that is the sport, whereas like Pro Ori was like kind of like the opposite. And like, man, like it's like really like cookie cutter. Like they just like play the sport and like they like have like these like freaking like things that enhance like their abilities. Like
are they dressed like idols, or are they dressed like players?
Just like the actual like the idol sequence is at the end or something. And like they have like these like very like Mario-esque sports style like boosts, I suppose.
Yeah.
It's funny because like there's only like 3 main characters right now. I think there's gonna be like 2 more introduced, but like the rest of the slots are like literally like taken up by like level 9 CPUs or something, which is very funny. They literally like have AIs that they train with, and if they don't have enough members, they just like play with them on a team. And I'm like, bro, this is like literally like a sports video game.
That sounds really so fucking lonely. I don't have enough friends.
Like, but this is not something I would recommend checking out. I'm just like watching it because like I think it's very funny that Japan injects idols into literally every type of subgenre. So
and for every concept, there's a concept plus idols.
Yeah.
It was like the idol show that I'm watching this season. Where is it? Is it here?
Where is it?
This didn't take me to where I needed to go. Oh, there. Okay.
There it is.
Yeah. So Shine Post, which is another idol show. It's the story of there's an idol group, and they aren't selling very well, and it's been a while, and so their manager gives them an ultimatum. They say there's this venue that is pretty sizable. If you can't sell it out, I think it has like a 2,000 person capacity. He said if you can't sell out this 2,000 person venue, we're disintegrating the idol group. And obviously none of the group members actually want to stop. And so to help them achieve this goal, they bring on a manager, and the manager has something weird about him. It turns out he just has a fucking superpower. And so anytime that someone lies, they get a glow on them. Like anytime they lie, there's like a yellow glow that pops up around them while they're lying. And so this guy just, I don't know why he has this power or why any of this is transpiring, but he gets like tricked into helping them out. One of the reasons that he decides to stay and help them is because the actual main character, because there's a few different main characters, obviously. This main character, Kyoka, when he asked them, why do you want to be an idol? And the 2 other members at the time had the glow whenever they answered, but the primary main character did not. Kyoka did not have the glow, and so he was like, you know what, okay, I'll help you because you're actually like being genuine. And that's kind of where we're at with the story.
1 out of 3.
Yeah, it's wow. So I was just like, this is a lot. I don't know if they're gonna explain why this guy has superpower. It was the most random thing ever. I was like, why does he just have? Are there other superpowers? This guy just, I don't know. I don't really know where it's gonna go, but yeah, it's another.
He's the chosen one, the only one who actually wants to be an idol.
This fucking guy, just yep. I'm like, all right, man. That's how that goes. I'm also watching Prima Doll, which is like the show about these girls are like they're robots. They're like not human, and so like some of it is like commentary on, you know, how even though they're not actually human, they still have emotions and thoughts like humans. Like I definitely sense some of that there. The other part of it is like it feels like idol stuff too, where they're literally singing and dancing for people to make them happy. So like I don't know exactly like what direction they're trying to go with the show. It is very cute though. Like there are some very cute character designs, so like that's cool. But like I really have no idea like where they're trying to go with the show. If it's gonna turn into something super deep and trying to talk about like, you know, people judging AIs and stuff a la Vivi. Or if it's just gonna be like it's gonna boil down to just like, you know, these girls work in a cafe as maids, and they also like sing and do idol stuff. I'm not sure yet. The jury is out on that one. I'm not sure where it's gonna go, but I'll kind of try to let you guys know as
we're dividing up the idol content.
Yeah,
there's one more show that I guess we can talk about. It's like the newest Love Live Superstar season.
Oh, right.
Which I don't know where that is.
Is it
probably
really
like
that
closer
unpopular?
probably closer to the bottom. Yeah, there it is.
Yeah.
So like like we were like kind of like skeptical about how this like season was like going to go, because obviously like more characters is for an idol genre is usually like too much for it to handle in terms of like being like a quality series. But honestly, the outlook of this season is actually kind of good in my opinion.
I agree. I'm watching it also, and like the first season had like 5 characters, which is like basically half of the number of main characters you get in previous shows, and they did a pretty good job of developing them actually, which is pretty unheard of for a Love Live show like this. Multiple good characters.
Essentially, like I don't know, like 7 like years later, like after like experiencing like first Love Live and how like kind of underwhelming that was, and like that we would be like, man, something from this very successful established idol franchise would actually be good quality. And like I'm like honestly here for it. Like I'm not gonna like diss this because it's like related to something I don't think too highly of, because like there's actually like good stuff here. Like
yeah, it's a really interesting concept with how these new characters are kind of like joining up also. Like, I think it's actually kind of cool, because it's not just like, oh, we have new recruits and they just inject new characters into the show. It's actually a struggle for the main crew to, like, get new members into their club. Like,
yeah.
The fact that they were so successful in the first season is actually deterring most people from joining, because they're, like, too scared that the club is too intense for them. And I'm like, wait, that's insane. This is, like, not something you see.
Like, I really like enjoy like the inclusion of like the first like new edition like Kinako. Like I like the idea that like, you know, the like the top of the mountain like seems like so far away if you're like trying to like, you know, win something like this, and like being interested in like wanting to like try something like that, even knowing that like you're probably like not gonna be like the best at what you do, like kind of like speaks to me in that way, because like I think like there's merits to like really like going hard in something, and it's like a feeling that's like irreplicable if you're just like trying to like take on something casually. And I think like the first like 2 episodes did a really nice job of kind of like establishing that as like a central like part of her character. Now I can't speak of the other new recruits because like they haven't like really shown up yet in that way. There seems like there's gonna be like one funny character, because like she's like kind of like a scientist. She like walks around in like a lab coat. She literally has like a Segway she takes around school, which is like kind of ridiculous. And like it's so funny to me that a character like that exists in the Love Live universe.
She's based. She has robots.
Yeah, she's a real bitch scientist girl. And like the other 2, I don't think I'm gonna like too much, because like one of them is like Cinderella, like, oh, it's not like I'm interested in like school idols or anything, Baka. And then there's one who's literally like a live streamer. She's like part of like the content life, and I'm like, I don't know, but so far like first 2 episodes outlook pretty good, and you know, I will acknowledge when I think something is good.
True.
Yeah,
can't be mad about that. Is there anything that we haven't covered? I think the only thing that we haven't at this point would just be, I think only me and Jeffrey are watching this. Well, obviously, like this hasn't come out yet.
Yeah,
we're waiting on that.
Gonna be on
waiting
that.
On this and Cyberpunk are 2 shows that haven't started airing, but definitely keeping eyes peeled for that. Me and Jeffrey are watching Tokyo Movie.
Yeah. So
it's like it's actually like interesting, because like it like very clearly they are doing their best to kind of kind of emulate that old school feel that the original show has. Like I can kind of see it in the way that they're, you know, designing characters and
first episode was literally like, so I like felt like I was like in early 2000s.
I was like
just the characters are drawn and designed, like the facial expressions like are very like, I'm not gonna say like they're like lower quality, it's just that like, you know, they flash to like, you know, very like cutesy, kind of simply drawn faces, and also like the uniform design is like extremely like old school, like it's very puffy, and like this is definitely like old school shoujo stuff.
You know, it's I don't dislike watching it every week. Like I'm not I'm not mad at it.
Unapologetically like heartthrob shoujo stuff. And I do appreciate like that they're not trying to like modernize it like to a point where it's like unrecognizable. Because like, you know, this is a series that like originated in like early 2000s.
That's true.
Like there have been like some like updates, like the characters have like smartphones. Obviously, like those weren't very you know, on the market early 2000s. And also like the number of extinct species that have surfaced has risen probably tenfold. And they make a note of that. I'm just like, bro, that's kind of scary and crazy. But
it's actually,
because before it used to be like, oh my god, like 2,000 species or something are endangered. Now it's like 15,000. I'm like, what?
I'm like, oh god, bro, what is happening? No, it's like I said, like I didn't really know what to expect going into it, but I do appreciate like how spot on they've been with like capturing that feel that the original series had, even though, you know, this is like, I think it's 80, it's 2000, okay,
2003,
early 2000, so it's been 20 years, so like
2002 was 20 years ago, man.
It's pretty crazy stuff. But yeah, like honestly, like honestly, this the last episode I talked to Jeffrey about this. Like the last episode, like kind of whiplashed me, because I was like, bro, I did not expect this to do this way. But the thing that they did was like still really like spot on for what the show is trying to offer. So like I wasn't mad at it. I was just like, what? What the fuck just happened?
All of like the character introductions have been like kind of funny to me. Because like remember like when Bu Ling was introduced, I'm just like, this kid literally like came straight out of like the circus or whatnot, and like we're now like working together. And I'm just like, it's that kind of like what's the word? Shameless is not the right word for it, but it's like, you know, they know what they're doing and they're just like trying to have fun with it, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely true.
I get that sense from the show that, like, you know, even though that it's covering like, you know, a lot of like environmentalism stuff, it's like doing it in a very like lighthearted way. So, and I think like that's like, it sticks to like the philosophy of what the original was trying to be. So.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Like this type of show, I'm never mad whenever I get a show like this, that like it's not like a front runner of the season, obviously, just because like just the sheer amount of quality we have is like pretty crazy. But like I appreciate when a show is like solid enough to where like I don't feel like it's a chore to watch every week. And like, you know, it's actually kind of funny every now and then, you know what I'm saying? Like it's pretty, you know, it's pretty really
it's almost like a piece of like, it's almost like a piece of history, just like to show like how much like anime has like changed. Because like there are some people who are like not like enthusiastic of how like modern anime like differs from like say like 90s anime or something like that. And like this is like it's legit like just like two different eras, and you just kind of have to accept that. But you know, if you can like kind of like pay homage to like the origins of some of these like not tropes, but like kind of like these like vibes of what they were going for, then like that to me is like really cool.
And that's pretty much it, guys. That's pretty much it for the summer season, and we were like right around the 3-hour mark. So yeah, it's just a lot of stuff. There's a lot of stuff out
for
here.
3 hours. Yeah, that's it.
Somehow. Got it.
Honestly, like this whole year of like anime has been like pretty crazy to me, because like I was just like thinking about the stuff that has like come out this year, and like I've rated stuff very, very highly, and it's like kind of uncharacteristic of me, because like I'm usually very critical of things. Not that I don't try to enjoy things, like, you know, my standards are pretty high compared to like the average viewer, and I was like telling like Miguel like recently that like, man, am I like getting soft, or is like anime just like that godlike
He
nowadays?
said, "Am I getting soft?"
I just find myself enjoying like so many things nowadays because like I'm really loving like Lycoris this season. Like Call of the Night is great. Like those are probably like my two front runners aside from like Made in Abyss, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, like just not trying to like exclude Made in Abyss. It's fantastic, but I knew I was going to enjoy it.
Yeah, bro, we knew. It'd just be like that.
I'm just like, man, like I'm like dishing out like 8s, 8.5s here and there. I'm just like, bro, am I like just becoming like that easy to impress, or are things just like
nah? Stuff has just actually been good. Yeah, honestly, like, and not every season has been like this. Like spring and summer
could have been relevant.
Yeah, like spring and summer have been really standout seasons thus far. Like they really are. Like especially spring, like spring season was like such high quality. Like it was unbelievable. It was actually like the amount of really good shit that we were handed to us, because we've been in
Good
seasons where there
being
isn't really
drowned.
like
it's always in follow-up season to a season like that. Like how is it going to like bring how is it going to hold up comparatively? Like what's it going to bring to the table? And I'm definitely not disappointed, you know?
No, not at all. Not at all. And part of that is because we do still have some stuff carrying over from spring season that definitely elevates the experience, but also even the stuff that is newly starting this season has been pretty strong overall. At least like maybe we just got lucky in picking the stuff that we chose to watch this time around, but I haven't been super disappointed in anything that I've watched so far.
Also, like,
that would probably be
varied,
different
too.
than like that would be a little different from like Bobby's perspective, since they actively seek out the bottom of the barrel.
I have to know. Me and Dylan, we gotta know, dude.
No, I feel that. Like I definitely feel that. And there's still like some new stuff to start up, and there's like some movies and stuff that will take 8 years to get translated for us to watch. So it just is what it is. But
Also, like, pretty varied. Like, we got like summertime rendering is like hella different from like Lycoris, which is super different from Call of Night. Then like Oji-san just existing, like in its own little world.
Yeah.
Ruby is like a Shaft thing, which so is Call of Night, but
yeah. It's a fun time. Sick medium.
Good time to be an anime fan for real.
Yeah,
Anime
for sure.
sick, dude.
Yeah. Were we right the whole time? Like, were we correct? But yeah, that's pretty much it for this episode, guys. Before we sign off, I just want to say, don't forget that we are now on our new channel on YouTube, and we also have a Twitter. We're not only gonna post stuff about the podcast, we're gonna try to incorporate some interest pieces, some things like kind of get you guys engaged and just kind of talk about stuff, because we always have shit that we talk about. We just don't always put it public facing, and sometimes it'll be fun to just kind of ask the community what they think about certain things. So I think we'll try to get some of those going. And yeah, I think next time, because it's gonna be like after Evo and after Smash.
It's gonna be like 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks, because next week's Evo. Like, go watch that. Don't watch us. Go watch that. And week after that, like me, Bobby, and Miguel are at SmashCon.
Yeah.
So
probably
we're gonna
in
aim for
3
the week
weeks
after that.
Yeah, probably in 3 weeks will be the next episode. In my mind, I wanted to do the sequel talk. Don't know if that's what we'll end up landing on, but as soon as we have a time picked out and everything, we'll be sure to let you guys know. But that's pretty much it from us, guys. Until next time, thank you for watching.
Laters.
And goodbye.
Later. Take it easy.